second.
Okay.
How come it feels
All right, Greg, whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's roll them.
short?
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to the May 6th version, 2013 of the Town of Shaftsbury Select Board meeting. This is a regular meeting tonight, as we normally do, first and third Mondays of each month. And this is also, we're beginning our new meeting times and order of business, or continuing them. I can't remember if this is the first one, or I think it is the first one where we officially are doing it. Or maybe this, that we didn't have a, some other sort of meeting to begin with it. So,
Oh, right, yeah, that's true.
a water board or some other thing, so. Okay, before we start, the first thing I'd like to do, I'm gonna make an adjustment here. I'd like to do a conflict of interest statement first. Does any member of the board have a conflict of interest with any item on the agenda this evening?
No.
No.
Okay,
I'll do this. I'll move that.
no problem. I didn't have it before now either, so. Okay, minutes. Minutes of April 15th, 2013.
We had a full board that night. We opened bids. We had the initial public hearing continuance on the proposed zoning bylaw, open space subdivisions, and that was agreed to be returned to the planning commission. Warrants. Billy made his announcement about resignation, then we had public comments. Down to cash flow projections and bid openings. And then your last reading and adoption of the conflict of interest policy and the adoption of the reserve fund balance policy, which I have for you to sign tonight, actually. And so on.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 15th.
Second?
Is there any discussion or questions or amendments that we need to make?
No.
There being none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of April 15th, 2013 as submitted, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any objections or abstentions?
It's okay.
Long day. The motion carries unanimously, 4-0. Okay, next, we have minutes, which I think are all right here.
Warrants, you mean,
Warrants.
sorry.
It's not a good start. It really is not a good start. Okay, this would be payroll warrant 42 in the amount of $6,747.38.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have payroll warrant number 43 in the amount of $10,595.85.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor of approving payroll warrant 43 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. And this is what we get when we have an extra week off. We get 3 payroll warrants. Payroll warrant 44 in the amount of $8,034.05.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor of payroll warrant 44 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries unanimously. Okay, this is the
Well, he calls them, it's a warrant 29, R retirement.
okay,
So
warrant
it's the DC
29.
warrant,
Okay, warrant 29R
Beamer's DC.
in the amount of $125.31.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor of approving warrant W29R signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Last but not least, we have check warrant 30 in the amount of $74,395.17.
Motion to approve.
Second.
The items over $1,000 are $1,130.88 to the Bennington County Sheriff's Department. Various electric bills to Green Mountain Power, the largest of which is $1,072.30.
What was that for, Craig?
I think those are just the monthly power bills.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't break it down to what building or where.
It does on an attached sheet, Ken.
On the attached sheet, you can look at those when I pass it down.
My
There are-
Okay, all right.
suspicion is that
No, I mean, it's just, I was just wondering if it, you know,
probably
Yeah,
street
the
lights,
bills come in separately.
probably street lights.
okay,
When I pass it down, we can,
that's all right. I mean, I just,
there's 10 other bills in addition to the one for $1,072, and I believe that the remainder don't quite equal that same amount. John Ray and Sons for $1,217.09. L&G Fabricators, $2,296. Marsh Engineering Services, $1,595.
That's transfer station and landfill post-closure certifications.
I'm assuming the LNG has something to do with the equipment, the
That's gotta be,
trucks.
we're gonna ask Terry for his report.
what was the one for LNG, Craig?
We will look here momentarily. There's all the Green Mountain bills. Miscellaneous steel pieces for John Deere 544 loader conversion.
That's the big
Yep.
surplus. And we're gonna have to watch it because we're gonna begin to get close to that purchase price.
Yes, we will. So let's just keep that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we were way under when we started. Let's see. Renaud Brothers Incorporated for $56,800. That would, of course, would be for the bridge.
Bridge deck on Lower East Road.
Oh.
As bid last fall,
Is it installed or?
It's done.
It's done?
all in.
Drive
Is
down.
that the one on the Lower East Road?
Yes.
Okay.
Sycamore Landscaping, $2,000, which is the part of the annual contract. And the remainder are all under $1,000. Is there any further questions or discussion? There being none, all those in favor of check warrant 30 in the amount of $74,395.17 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. you want to look at those bills, they're all right in a group,
Yeah, okay.
alphabetical
Good,
order.
that's-
Thank you.
Okay. We're doing a good job. We're 5 minutes ahead of schedule at this point.
I'm impressed already.
Good start. All right, announcements. Ken?
I got a call over the weekend, about a problem where the road, at the intersection of Leclerc Road and Bennett Hill, there's residents there, that they've got a real problem getting in and out of that driveway. And,
I remember that.
yeah, they said that they'd called before
Right,
about
yeah,
it.
they did, we did some ditch modifications or something before Ron
Yeah, well,
Daniels
there's
left.
the other side of the road too, Margie.
Okay.
There's a, what, couple hundred feet, a ditch has got to be cleaned over there too, because Craig and I went over there and looked at it Sunday, and it needs help.
Yeah, it appears that the ditching on the, I guess it would be the west side of the road, northwest?
North side.
North side. Yeah, right, I guess where that is, that would be
Yeah.
primarily north. I think the ditching, some ditching right below that, there's, the road goes there, there's a culvert there, that the ditch is not much. And then the combination of that, and then the way that the road is situated, and then the angle into the driveway there, it would be difficult. You know, with a four-wheel drive or something like that, you get in and out, but it's probably almost a foot drop
Wow,
in 6
And
inches.
it's quick.
yeah, that's,
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's a tough spot, don't get me wrong. The way that the driveway lays in comparison to the road it's a tough spot anyways, and, but it does need some help, both from a water standpoint and from a egress and,
So the complaint was about the difficulty of getting in and out of the driveway.
That and water coming off the road and going down in, and the lady
Yes,
that
and
lives
the
there is
drainage onto
like
the property.
90-something years old.
Oh,
And
wait a
there's-
second, I live within a couple hundred yards of there. Are we talking about the greenhouse that just had a roof replaced? Or the one, the
It's-
house that
if
is
you're
set way,
coming
way
down,
back?
if you're coming down on the crossover, or
West Mountain?
Leclerc Road, if you're coming off of West Mountain,
Yeah,
down
Leclerc,
Leclerc
it's
Road,
on
it's
the
the
left?
first house on the left right there.
okay. I go by that every day, I haven't noticed
Yeah,
that
if
there's
you-
a problem with the driveway.
yeah, if you actually look right at the driveway, because the house sits and there's a garage, it's like immediately adjacent to the road.
Right,
The
exactly.
drop-off into the driveway is pretty severe.
Here,
Yes. It would be rough with any car that doesn't have a fair amount of ground clearance.
Is the house on Leclerc or on Bennett Hill?
It's on Leclerc.
Oh,
the
okay.
entrance to the house is on Leclerc, but if the house actually
Yeah,
faces.
the caretaker for the house said the lady that lives there is like 90-something years old and could need an ambulance in there at any time.
Yeah, it's,
I'm curious, because that house has been there, and that garage has been there
Yeah,
for over 40 years, and...
oh, that's been there for a long time. That was there when I was road commissioner.
Okay, so what has happened to the...
It seems like, for whatever reason, the gravel has been added to the highway.
Sometimes when they build up the road, I mean, that happens.
So they built
when
up the road to do it?
Yeah.
To try to get the water off of the
Margie,
road. and-
did you say that was a project that was worked on?
No, this was actually on Bennett Hill itself,
Okay,
about 2 houses down from Leclerc.
okay.
Now,
But
I've
they've done a
noticed
lot of
that
work
the,
up there.
that the road, the last grading had a good deal of material put on it. So is this a condition that is the result of the recent grading, or
You know, let's check
When
with
Terry
Terry. When
comes.
Terry comes in,
Yeah.
let's ask him.
Yeah, okay.
It appears, just from looking at it for 5 or 10 minutes when Ken and I took a ride there yesterday, it almost appears that it's been built up more recently, but I don't know that for certain. Obviously, it was graded recently.
Right,
It was
right.
graded within the last week or so.
Right.
And a lot of material was put down.
Okay. So, and we'll check with Terry when he comes in. So. Okay.
Yep.
Anything else, Ken?
No,
Carl?
No, nothing.
Karen?
Yes, I have thank yous to shout out. First of all, I've noticed, I think people can't help but notice how great the cemeteries are looking. And we had our first invoice from Sycamore Landscaping, and I just really just want to, make mention of, I think they're doing a terrific job. They did the cleanup, and I think they've already mowed
Yep.
once, and I think they look terrific. And speaking of cleanup, we had a great day on Saturday, Green Up Day, of course. Some of you probably saw bags all around town on the side of the road. I think people did a great job. Really pleased.
Did anybody find the ladybugs?
Yes, people found ladybugs. They brought them back. They actually found some from last year's bugs. So it was good. It was very good. It was a gorgeous day for anything, out doing anything. A lot of us that lived along the route saw the bicyclists go by for the Tour of the Dragons. And I think that the road crew had done a terrific job with preparing the roads, obviously not specifically for the race, but I heard a lot of compliments from some of the race officials on the condition of the roads. And I want to thank Jim Meskin, Mark Bolhart, and Dick Lyon, who put up the flags I think it was early last week. And, they, of course, look beautiful hanging up on
They
Main
really
Street.
do.
So, yeah, lots of people, as they were putting them up, were honking horns and, just thumbs up. And it really is a nice way to enter the town, I think.
Yeah, I saw them doing, then got a kind of a sense of pride as they were putting up there.
Yeah.
Very
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, there was
And they do look great. It's amazing that how they, they're there and we see them, and it's always great to see Old Glory flying, but the new ones it was noticeable when the new ones went up.
Yeah, and people, the folks that live in that area or walk along Main Street have said that there is a noticeable difference in the speed of cars going through once the flags go up, which I think is really an interesting, because it signifies really you're entering a town, and maybe it just causes people to have a little bit more respect for that. So anyway, lots of great things happened in the last week or so, and all because of the volunteers that we have in town that are just super. So I thank all of them. And that's all that I have until we talk about garage.
Okay. Marty?
And we had a successful household hazardous waste and mercury lamp collection day. We had
Mercury.
fewer bulbs than we thought.
Good.
Fewer households, but I think because it was the very first of most of the gorgeous days.
Yes.
And I think people were so stunned that they were at home, that they were at home in the yard. It's just doing something. But, no, and we did we're very careful on container count. And so I think we came in under budget, which is
We had,
proposed not to exceed amount, that is.
and our friends from Clean Harbors actually did a really good job working with us. I think historically, when they've worked into big drums, that's what went into the truck and how we were billed. And this time, when they had smaller amounts, they consolidated to smaller containers and.
Oh, good.
We really put an effort into packing.
Good. Good.
We did get a little surprise from, on the Stanford truck that came over. They brought over just, small number of, usual that we get from them, but one little container made up for it. Someone brought in, apparently a retired teacher had actually sent in, they had a container of mercury that they'd had for years.
Elemental mercury.
Elemental mercury.
Really?
Probably we guessed about 12 or 14 pounds.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
That's a container about yay big. It was a plastic container with multiple containers inside of it, so it was all very well contained and all of that, but that will be a pretty little penny to send that off. I think
Yeah, we agreed that we probably would send an invoice along for a contribution. We can't
Yeah,
charge, we're not
because
allowed to charge, but we could certainly ask for a contribution.
that
We have talked about that in the past when we had some, seems to me there was another, it was asbestos, when a resident dumped asbestos on that day, and we did talk, and I don't know if we came up with a formal language, but it's
Yeah.
worth discussing that if it's not normal, household.
Or
that's not
acutely
household.
hazardous.
Yeah. Well, apparently it was for this person, but
But if they were a retired teacher, well,
It could have been a
anyway,
home
doesn't
darkroom.
matter,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Who knows?
but anyways, it was just as a point of humor as we had this
Yes.
material as everybody left, and we had the crew of the gang, and I posed the question, okay, how many of you here, and this will determine age, have actually had the opportunity when you were in school to actually have mercury out and play with it?
Yeah.
And about half of us raised our hands, and the other half looked at us like we had two heads.
Yeah.
I remember
Rolls
rolling
real nice in the palm of your hand, doesn't it?
Yeah, rolling around the little balls and watching it roll together, and
yeah.
it was neat stuff.
Yeah.
But we don't. Obviously, that doesn't happen anymore.
And I had one last announcement, and that is that this is Sandra's last meeting.
Oh,
She has graced us with her beautiful writing skills.
yes.
Yes,
Or,
absolutely.
Oh, that's
15 months or so.
sad. Yes,
You will be missed.
I'm sad, it's a sad side.
Yeah.
Just tired of giving up my evenings, basically.
Yeah, well, we certainly understand, but boy, it's
I mean, I did
been,
it for more than a year, so I think.
yeah, we were
Thank
lucky.
you.
We were lucky.
And well done.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, yeah, much appreciated.
Yes.
Well, enjoy your evenings.
Hope they're like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I have no announcements for this evening. We are done the conflict of interest statement. Does any member of the public have a comment they would like to make about anything that does not appear otherwise on the agenda this evening?
Sure. I want to say something for the Shaftsbury Historical Society. On June 22nd, in conjunction with the Bennington Museum, we are having a trip to historic Deerfield Village, and there'll be more coming out in the media concerning this, but I just wanted to get it out there now. And tickets are out for sale at the Chocolate Barn and at the Bennington Museum.
The historic which town again?
Historic Deerfield.
Deerfield.
Historic Deerfield. And we leave at 8 a.m. in the morning, and you return to the Bennington station at 4:30. So we get there about 9:30 to 3. You'll be at Historic Deerfield.
How much are the tickets?
Tickets are $30 for round trip, and that includes about 3.5 hours of tour while you're there, guided tours. Then you have some free time to go around and look at some of the stuff on your own and have a picnic if you like. There is an option to buy lunch, which is another $30, but you can eat in the Deerfield Inn at Chompney's. So, you'll be hearing more about it.
Thanks. Sounds good.
Anything else? All right.
Do you want to consider an item out of order?
That's kind of what I was thinking we might
That
do.
we just left household hazardous waste, and Michael just came in to talk a little bit about the grant and the memorandum of understanding with BCRC.
If the board would agree that we might take item number 11, which is the Regional Solid Waste Implementation Plan and that memo of understanding out of order.
That's fine with me.
I agree.
Okay.
Hey, Mike.
Good timing.
Great. Hopefully, we'll still have an orderly conversation.
Yeah. Well, okay, if you must.
Hi, well, we haven't met. I'm Michael Batcher.
Craig Bruder.
Hi, Craig. Hi, Karen. Hi, all.
So there's really not too much to the grant. This is a grant that we, a memorandum of understanding that we sign annually, and it allows us, as well as other towns in Bennington County, that work with BCRC to receive grant funds to help stage these hazardous waste collection days. And
Yeah, basically, we get,
Maybe if you could move
oh,
yours.
I'm sorry. Basically, we get a little bit, somewhere between $12,000 and $13,000. I think it was $12,567. It's based on population. They allocate it by population in the state. So then what we do is we take the grant and we divide it up by the population of the towns. And so you're getting your proportion, then Pownell gets their proportion based on that population. And then Stanford works with you all too in your household hazardous waste event, but they get their own separate grant, as does the town of Bennington, because they have their own solid waste plans. So it's basically allocated per consortium or solid waste district or whatever, where there's a solid waste, where there's a grant given. Not a lot of money. I think I estimate, I'm not sure about your costs exactly because I don't have your staff costs, but since I track our staff costs for it pays for about 35% of the total for the household hazardous waste events we run. Otherwise, it's the other grants that help. There's an Ag and Markets grant, which that you guys get now for pesticides. And Margie and I have been working for you to get fluorescent bulbs. There's a way to get those taken care of for free, so I'm hoping that's going to work, because that will save us some money. Is there another, seems like there's another funding source. No, that's all I can think of. But that's as much as, otherwise it's the town's budgets.
so this, yeah. And
So this agreement is
period
basically,
gonna-
you're running your own
Yeah.
household hazardous waste event,
Yeah.
as opposed to doing it with the other, well, actually, you, Glastonbury, so it's 4 towns you're doing it for, and we're doing it for 6.
Now, does Glastonbury get any money towards this or not?
Not directly. Well, they would get their proportion. If we were, in other words, if we would take the $12,500 grant and give everybody their piece, Glastonbury would get whatever the number of people, which isn't very many.
Right,
So probably, I think it would come to about $30 or something like that.
Yeah.
So
And
basic,
what's the approximate amount that we get per year?
it's been about $2,400, $2,500, somewhere around there.
So that's
You and
not
Pownell
per
have-
event, that's the total.
Yeah.
That's the total.
Yeah.
So
And-
about 1,200 per,
Yeah, and then Pownell gets roughly the same, their population is roughly the same as yours, a little lower, I think.
And we've been receiving that in the past for how many years? Several?
Well, it was
well, we've been.
underway.
yeah,
Way
we've been
before I
having it
started.
Way
for a
before I
while.
started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've gotten it for some time.
Yeah.
We've gotten it for some time.
Do we renew the MOU, or is it an open-ended
Yes.
MOU?
No, it's an annual. And this is for 2 collections.
So-
Yeah,
Calendar year
basically the way it works,
2013.
and it's kind of interesting, the state, we applied for this grant in January. So that's why the MOUs get renewed every year, because we have to sign an agreement with the state before they'll give us any money, and so we couldn't do anything longer term with you. In fact, their agreement is such that, not to pick on them, but we're not actually supposed to contract with anybody until they've signed the agreement. I'm still waiting for the signed agreement. I mean, if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have Clean Harbors lined up, and so we kind of,
Who is they at the state level? What?
A&R,
A&R.
yeah, solid waste, yeah. And it's not really anyone's fault, it's apparently the business office. Everybody has to look at things and make sure it's
Yeah,
meets whatever requirements it has to meet.
yeah.
So that's the grant and the MOU, and I think we haven't changed the terms much.
No, very similar as last year. I went over it.
Yeah, they're pretty similar.
Item by item.
How'd your event go?
Very well.
Good.
I'm assuming yours went seamlessly.
No, we're having it
You're
Saturday.
coming up on the 11th. It will go seamlessly.
I hope so.
How about a little update on what Pownell's would like to look into,
Oh, yeah. Well,
just coming down the pike?
one of the issues for Pownell is that there's some feeling that people don't want to travel all the way to Shaftsbury. It doesn't seem very far to me, but for some people, so their participation is a little bit lower. And what we've suggested to them and talked about is that they might be better served joining with, Bennington has their own event. They could join with Bennington. You could join with Bennington if you want. I mean, you'd basically get the allocation and have them run your events. I'm not sure, you have to have events, right? Because you're, based on your...
In our
Yeah,
certification.
they don't have to do that. So panels conceivably could get their allocation and work with the town. It's up to them. It might be closer, they might get better participation.
But wait a minute, I'm confused.
So you wouldn't have the panel people showing
No,
up.
I understand that, but what you just said was because of our certification, we have to have it at our landfill? Or we have to
We
have
have to
events?
assure that
Participate.
we're diverting that waste stream, that we have to offer Shaftsbury.
Right, but.
So it might be
but
feasible-
that would not preclude us from participating in the Bennington household
That's correct.
hazardous
I don't
Yeah,
think so.
so that might be a thing to consider. What we're also considering going beyond that is the 6 towns we work with are part of the Integrated Solid Waste Applications Program, or ISWAP, and they contract with Casella for recycling at the 2 transfer stations. Casella is willing to do the whole event plus at cost plus 5%. We need to look at what those numbers are, but it would be interesting to, if we could do those kinds of events and just have them run them at their transfer station. Right now, we run them at schools, and that's a little frowned upon.
You're talking about the hazardous waste?
The hazardous waste.
Recycling?
The hazardous waste.
Okay.
Yeah, that they're willing to do that and basically run the whole thing. My only concern, I would have to make sure that they do enough advertising and outreach, because I think that's important to get people to come to the events. You really need to educate people, make sure, but that may be an option that we might pursue. And I'm mentioning this because they do run the event in Bennington, so they would be basically staffing it the whole bit. They would subcontract with a Clean Harbors or someone like that to actually collect and dispose of the waste. But it wouldn't,
So, I don't know. We'll just see where we're going to head
but it's a
with this.
possibility.
It is, yeah. It is.
I mean, it would be worth doing a little number crunching on that for everyone.
We're in place for next spring.
Right.
And also be interested, I don't know if you have any way of maybe asking people when they come to your next event, how would you think of going to Bennington? They might just go, oh, forget, we don't want to do that. Pownell, I get the sense that they would feel more people would go to Bennington. Maybe people from Shaftsbury wouldn't, and so you may want to think about it that way too.
Well, I'd like to know too from Bennington if they're willing to
Yes,
reconfigure,
that's a big question.
Right.
or if there really is a benefit for Shaftsbury to go there.
The other thing, this is sort of longer term that I'm hoping we could work for at some point too, is that many of the, elsewhere in the state, there are solid waste districts that manage solid waste, and many of them have permanent household hazardous waste facilities. Bennington started to create one, and then they got into a bit of a disagreement over, Casella didn't want to staff it, they wanted Bennington to hire someone. Well, we spend, and you spend, $2,500 just for Clean Harbors to show up with their truck.
Yeah.
That's $10,000 we spent,
Yeah.
okay?
Right.
That alone, we could save if we simply did not have events, but had a staff person Saturdays, every day, every Saturday of the year, bring your stuff. And apparently that works very well. It saved other solid waste districts enormous amounts of money. But we would have to, all the towns have to get together and fund a staff person. And again, that's a number crunching issue. I have no idea whether that's cost effective or what. But it's a thought that it would be certainly increased convenience for people, except for maybe Rupert and Dorset would be a longer drive, but they would figure it out. Or maybe once in a while we could have some kind of a satellite event, but that would be at a lower cost. But at any rate, it might be an option to think about as a kind of a group effort to fund a trained person who can accept household hazardous waste and set it up so the Clean Harbors or whoever can come and get them. And I've seen the one at Addison County. It's very efficient. In fact, in some ways, it's maybe a little more efficient than, because they're really trying to make sure that that barrel is full
Right.
before they send off. Or Clean Harbors, basically, if it's half full,
Right.
that's what they got, and they still charge you for a bulk
still
barrel.
charge.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And that's not there's no other way they can do it.
Right.
So, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
I would say that it all depends on how many people would feel that lack of convenience or even the lack of the habit that they've gotten into to going to the place they always go to dispose of their refuse is something that they would consider as worth the savings to the town. I'd be surprised, I'd be happily surprised, but I'd still be surprised if that was an easy habit to change.
Well, there would be added convenience that they could go any week.
Whenever they had it.
They wouldn't,
have to
I mean, we
store
could,
it at home.
I'm just using it as a minimum. If you just had it open on Saturdays to save the staff time, then you wouldn't have to wait till, I mean, we get calls all year round, I'm sure you do. I've got paint in my basement I can't come to October.
Right.
I've sent them to Rutland. People are really, I've had a couple of people, they recently bought a house. They, for some reason, didn't look in the basement until they moved in, and it's wall-to-wall varnish, and they want to get rid of it. And it's like, well, you can either wait till October or sometime May, or you can go to Rutland and take it up there and pay for it, and Rutland will take it. But that's another thing to consider, is that people have needs that are sometimes they don't want to or can't wait that long. But you're right, it is an issue that, it's nice to have it on at the Arlington School or your transfer station, or in Dorset.
Well, and the other thing that will change, I mean, if Pownell decides to go to Bennington, and of course, we've always said to them, and Stamford has done it, they figured it out to have a town truck, and people bring their stuff, and the day of the event, the truck hauls all of the stuff up, which is when you found all the mercury. But and each one of those towns are paying us,
My God.
is it
we found some
$22.50 an event?
It will be, starting this fall.
Yeah, so,
$2,500
that's
each.
times two.
Yeah.
For Pownell, we would
would
lose
lose that income.
that income stream. Now, for Pownell and Stamford, I think it has made sense for them, because I'm hearing that they're basically getting grant money that's funding
Covers
half
it.
of the cost. And so they're basically paying, $2,500 a year to cover their household hazardous waste. They clearly are realizing, perhaps, that, it's not a convenience for their
Yeah, they're not
for their
getting enough
residents,
participation.
and maybe it's worth spending more money for them to have it be more convenient.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is, we would lose that revenue. So then you come up with the question of, how much do the residents of Shaftsbury want to pay for the convenience of having it right here in town? Because it will increase the cost to them in terms of the,
Commute, yeah.
in terms of how much we get in revenue, and we'll have to raise more in taxes to cover it, in other words. So, can I ask a question that's a little bit off the track of the household stuff? And that has to do with the SWIP itself. Do we have a representative now, or was the representative Billy? Or,
I don't
we
recall.
pay close to $6,000 a year, I think. And when this started, it's got to be at least 5 or 6 years ago. I remember our feeling at the time was, this is kind of being rammed down our throats. We're being told we have to do it, we have to fund it. There is this person, that will try to promote, recycling and things like that. And I think we felt at the time that we were ahead of the curve. We had a swap shed, we had a higher recycling rate, I think, than most towns around. But nevertheless, we had to do this. And I think I remember that BCRC took over that.
Yeah.
And I'm
So
just,
some of your money goes to me now.
so the money goes to you, and I'm wondering now, when you're saying for us, it'll be crunching numbers and figuring out whether it would make sense to talk to Bennington or continue it here ourselves. Is that something that you all are doing, crunching the numbers as part of this SWIP program that we're paying $6,000 to?
Yeah, I think we would. I want to make sure that there's interest or willingness, and then if you're interested, then we can try to figure out how much that would cost and whether it'd be a benefit. I mean, I'm just throwing out the ideas at this time.
Yeah.
Some of those funds I do use when Margie and I and Happer and I are working on household hazardous waste, because for our household hazardous waste events, we charge our time to the towns too. And I can't charge my time when I spend for you to Arlington, Manchester, and Dorset. It's a different issue. So I use some of the SWIP funds
I see.
for those kinds of things. Now, you mentioned the SWIP, so this great segue is that it's, as you know, Act 148 passed. And that means that the state is working on a new, what they call a materials management plan, SWIP in a different form. And when that becomes finalized in November, then all of the SWIPs will have to be updated. There'll be the one we have is going to be outdated. It's going to have to be updated anyway, but it'll be updated. And the requirements are probably going to change, as you know, that there's mandatory recycling. There are organic, the whole issue of recycling and composting organics. So there are a lot of changes. So one of the things I've been suggesting to the towns is that we don't wait till November to start thinking about this plan.
Right.
That we use the SWIP. First of all, it's probably going to be very expensive. I have no idea how much it's going to cost. Last time, as I understand, you got a municipal planning grant, and I'm sure the towns kicked in some funds and hired a consulting firm, and they did the SWIP. What I would suggest is we devote the SWIP funds for this coming year, and we get a municipal planning grant. But we start this planning process now, so come November, we're not going, oh, we have 6 months to do, or 2 months or 3 months, and where's the money going to come from, by the way, because we already, you see I'm going?
Yeah, well, we're already 6 months out. I mean, we're only 6 months out.
Yes, yes.
You're talking about November, this
Yes,
coming up
yeah,
November.
yeah.
Yeah, we're
Right.
yeah.
So Kathy Jameson, who's with A&R, I've invited her to come down, and Margie says she can make the meeting in May to basically tell us what some of the requirements are and kind of get us started so we can begin to outline who do we need to do this, can BCRC do it, how do you want to do it, what's the process. The plan as I see that we currently have is a rather data-rich plan. It's got a lot of stuff on where stuff goes. It doesn't really give me a whole lot of guidance on what to do. It has a lot of actions, but it's not clearly prioritized. So I'd like to get more sense of how do you guys want to manage this stuff?
Yeah.
So when you're saying get them down here and have a meeting, are you talking about all of the towns that are signed on to this SWIP?
Yeah, I'd like to have a representative from everybody so we could begin to have these discussions. And I think we kind of need a planning team. Not kind of, we do need a planning team. We need a planning team that's going to work with us. And maybe you want to hire a consultant. Let's identify that. I mean, BCRC is required to help you with that, but you have other options of how you want to pursue this. So let's get those options out. I think I would advocate that we have a little more of a maybe an intermunicipal agreement or something in terms of implementing solid waste management. It's very loose now.
Oh, yeah.
And in some ways, it's almost a little bit too loose. And so it might be worth thinking about those kinds of things. I mean, we run household hazardous waste events, but we don't really have an agreement with the towns. We just do them to help. And so we need something more formalized as well. And it sounds like you need to think about, what are your responsibilities with respect to your certification and doing these kinds of events or other kinds of events. Are there things that need to be modified?
Right, are there other options
Yeah.
for us,
Do you want to, we went through you're going to be doing the fluorescent bulbs and to see how that works. Maybe you want to do e-waste. I don't know. Maybe there may be many other options you want to think about. So I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm just saying let's start seeing what works. There's a new, whether this will actually go anywhere, it seems to have momentum. There's a new law that's being bandied about. It's in the Senate now for recycling of paint. In other words, just like you take your fluorescent bulb to miles, you could take your half-empty can of paint back, and they would recycle it. which would-
Water-based or oil?
Both.
Wow, that would be big.
Because that's huge.
That
That's
would really be
that's a
big.
high percentage of the
Yeah.
liquids that we get.
That's why people are advocating it. It's something like 50-60% of the household hazardous waste funds are expended on getting rid of paint.
And latex
In the
is
state.
not hazardous, but you know, you've
People
got
still
a
bring
half a
it.
gallon and you don't want to use it, and what do you do with it? Put kitty litter in and wait for 3 months? For it to
dries
dry
out.
up?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
But yeah, so there's a lot of things going on.
yeah.
And be worth thinking about some of these things in terms of, and the state is really pushing these plans to have very active education programs. I know you had one sort of before with DSM that wasn't working out, and we're sort of putzing. How would a good education program work? Actually, I have someone now he'll probably be calling you at some point if he hasn't, but he's trying to identify what are the education, who's doing what in terms of education. We don't really have a handle, who does what in what school, what the different towns do. We know there are posters and stuff, but there could be all kinds of private
It's not an
programs,
active.
Yeah, no,
but we don't really know, and that would be nice to,
organized program.
yeah.
I mean, it
Who's
may be that they're
composting?
doing it in the schools, I mean, you
Yeah.
know, but,
Well, some schools are very, very active, and other schools, when you talk to someone, they
yeah,
don't know they don't have any way of,
right.
I have one school that has an e-waste event and another school that doesn't, and they're very similar. Why one does it and another one doesn't, I don't know.
So it sounds like there's some work to do then,
Yes.
begin working forward through this jointly.
Yeah.
Um,
Like I said, don't wait till November and don't,
Right.
Well, again, I guess it brings up the question for me, I would certainly appreciate BCRC letting us know, and I assume you're going to, when you're planning to put together a meeting of the representatives to the SWIP. If that's, I mean, I know we used to have a
The May
representative.
22nd date?
May 22nd is our,
May 22nd?
yeah, and you're all welcome.
Okay.
I'm
Because, I mean, it
still-
used to be that there was a representative from every town.
Right.
And I
Bill
remember going.
Pennebaker has been going.
Yeah, and we have had,
Yeah, so
went
that's
up
still
through
happening.
we have meetings from time to
Spring.
time.
Happening,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what
and
I-
Bill's great. I should tell you, it's sometimes difficult to get all the representatives in the room.
Oh, I bet.
And
I
so
bet.
sometimes we need to build up some energy of its own. So,
Yeah.
All right, so then our action item for this evening is to execute this memorandum of understanding
And to sign
and sign it.
by the select board chair.
I guess I would like to ask the board if any of you have any questions regarding the document as it was presented. Or any discussion. In that case, I would look for a motion to,
I'll make a motion that we authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the board the memorandum of understanding with BCRC.
Seconded.
any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
I need you to sign duplicate.
Twice? Oh, my word.
everybody has an
Writer's
original.
tramp.
Do you want to take a copy back? with
Yeah,
you?
that's okay, that'd be great.
Sure.
Yeah, if you can continue having Margie and Bill and whoever else you want involved in this planning group, that would be great.
And this might be, we may have another select board member. We're about to talk about liaisons tonight
Okay.
for topics that,
Well, it also makes me think, the Environmental Issues Committee has been fairly inactive. There haven't been a lot of issues that, have caused them to feel the need to meet, but,
Maybe it's time again
It may
to,
be time, because there's a lot of upcoming decisions to be made, I think.
and some changes coming that, positive changes, but nonetheless changes.
Okay, well, we can certainly come to those meetings with them if
Yeah,
that would help them
yeah,
to understand.
yeah. I'll talk to Bill, and if that's all right with the board, and see if maybe we can get a meeting together.
Any other questions for Michael?
Can I just make a plug for two more things since I'm here? One is, we need to get you to update your basic emergency operations plan. I've talked to Jerry a bunch of times, but if you had a chance to poke Jerry, that would be great. That needs to be updated.
Oh, when?
I'm not
is that a
even
yearly
sure,
update?
how complex a document is that? Is it,
It's not very, it
35
mostly has to do
pages?
with the fact that numbers, phone numbers
Addresses and
change and
oh,
stuff.
this is what used to be the rapid response?
Yes, now it's a
line.
basic emergency operation.
Okay.
So it just needs,
Oh, that's nothing.
yeah. And then we would like to work with you on a hazard mitigation plan. And we're trying to get all the towns to have hazard mitigation plans. That's not the most fascinating thing for most people to work with, but we can do a lot of the work and get you through the process. Whether it'll make any difference, I can't promise you, but it does open up the possibility. It opens up two possibilities. One for grants from FEMA, and second, it is one factor in what's called the community rating system, which can help reduce people's flood insurance premiums by even a small amount, but something. And again, we've got a format now I think we can work with. It's really getting the actions from you and helping prioritize some of the threats. But I think with a couple of meetings and a public meeting, we can do it fairly rapidly. It may take forever for FEMA to review them and get approval, but it doesn't have to be labor intensive for you all. I just need a couple of people to work with.
Is it something where you have to identify specific areas in town that?
Well, it's kind of, I like to think, I guess the best way to think about it is in some ways it's a capital improvements plan, because you're basically saying, okay, this bridge would be something that, if this bridge has been damaged so many times, we need to replace it. Because otherwise it's not cost effective to keep fixing it. It may make more sense to build it the right way. And you may never be able to do that. Or it may take 20 years, but it's something to identify. And there may be culverts like that. There may be roads like that. Those kinds of things that would, if we could get to this and do it right, it would ultimately save us a lot of money. And save the FEMA, when they have to come fix it, a lot of money. That's really what they're looking for, are there cost savings? And I don't know what other things, that you guys know your town much better than I do, but there may be other things that are worth identifying.
Does that extend to anything beyond culverts,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
like streams and stream cleaning?
You can certainly put it in there. You can put in plans for stream restoration. Whether or not you'll get FEMA money, I don't know, but you could certainly put those in. You can put anything you want in there.
Right, but what I'm getting at is like the Rolling Branch down there during Irene. That thing hadn't been cleaned since the 70s.
Right.
And
FEMA's
when
still
you see,
fighting about
when you
it.
see where all them trees wound up, that's where the water went.
Yeah, yeah. It's certainly something you can put in the plan. All I'm saying is you may not get money for any of these things, but you'll definitely not get money if you don't have a plan.
Right.
That's basically,
Okay. Maybe another agenda.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming out.
Thanks for coming, Mike.
Good to see you.
It's a wonderful night. I hope you get to get outside before you're too long.
We're gonna do our darndest. Have a good evening. Terry Stacy. You're the next contestant. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Ma'ams.
All right. Well, I guess the next thing we have is reports from you. So tell us what's going on. What do we have happening? Where do our projects stand? Kind of bring us up to speed.
Both graders running 3 weeks and 1 day solid. We only have a handful of roads left for the first time to complete. We spent pretty good amount of hours on Cider Mill, just digging that bank out. We've put signs back up that were damaged or fallen over windstorms over the winter, and put new poles in the ground where they've been knocked over or whatever. We haven't completely replaced all of them yet because we're still trying to figure out how we can keep them there when we replace them. Actually, Bennington had a pretty neat idea. They said put like a white grease on the top of them that's a clear grease or whatever. And he said that they've found that if there's something on there that people get their hands dirty or something, it seems to deter them pretty easily. They were surprised that something that simple would deter somebody. When they grabbed it, they didn't want to get the stuff on their hands, and they...
Hey, worth a try. Grease is cheaper than signs.
Yeah.
And the pole won't rust.
No, it's just strange that we've drilled poles, drilled signs, put bolts and nuts through them, welded them on, and they're still getting them off, and something simple as grease could possibly work. But
Can't hurt to try.
So hopefully hopefully maybe tomorrow we're done with the first round of grading, and I think the road's held up pretty good after the first time. I'm surprised how well the shape that most of them are in. Usually the first time they reoccur with ruts or potholes, and you gotta go back and touch a lot of them up, but Perrin Road looks like the only one, but that was the first one we did, and it was still pretty wet when we did it. It looks like we gotta touch that one again, but going out to the hollow and East Road seems pretty smooth, pretty hard.
I know I came back yesterday, started in Warmbrook and then came down East Road and then cut across to Maple Hill and down Cider Mill, and I don't think I found a rut.
That's a good
Or a
thing.
pothole, which is,
Yeah.
I was, I
Yeah.
know that, I grew up on gravel roads, so I know that these things do pop up, but the roads were in excellent shape.
Thanks.
I too, I'm glad the weather seems to be with us too.
Yep.
But I was on Myers Road and before the grading, it was almost impassable, it was horrible. And it's remained consistently good since the grading. So compliments to the guys.
Thanks.
We are going to need rain because I'm starting to get calls for
Yeah.
fluoride.
Yeah.
And we had a load or a load and a half or so, that's about it left.
Yeah, the truck's not, rust built up in the nozzles or something over the winter, and it just, Dave had it all apart all afternoon today, took all the nozzles out of it, cleaned them all. Hopefully it'll spray now, it was just trickling out, it would not spray the chloride out, it was just a straight line coming out of it, and
I could see it. I saw when you went up, I could see the trail, and I thought.
I saw
in
it
fact,
somewhere too that I was at this last week.
yeah, well, we had one load on hand, and I said, well, I'll do the bike route race because they asked me to do it, and
Yeah,
I kept stopping and trying to poke the things out, and
yeah,
it just wouldn't spray.
yeah. So I also, I think you had a concern from a resident, I think I left a message on your thing, a resident.
Tell them it's gonna rain Wednesday.
Because of the chloride, it was really, and I said, based on the evidence that I saw on the road, I said, I'm pretty sure the chloride truck broke. based on
We've
what I
got
saw.
probably maybe four of our truckloads left till July 1st, and we're out of budgetary money again, so that's up to you guys.
Yeah.
I thought it was less than
It's
that.
been bad. The dust has been pretty horrendous. So we may have
Well,
to
just-
consider.
As long as we're on television, so everybody does realize this, if you took the amount that we're supposed to apply per mile with the budget we have, theoretically, we can't do every dirt mile in the town of Shaftsbury once.
No.
So so people don't think that we're starving their area with chloride, it's not that reason. We try to do it when it's really bad, because we can't make the whole town one time with the budget we have. But I don't think everybody realizes that.
Now, on a different but related topic, earlier this evening, we were discussing a complaint by a resident at the corner of Bennett Hill and Leclerc. Craig, since you were there.
Well, actually, Ken and I went up yesterday afternoon. It's, the property rate it would be on the corner of Leclerc and
Yeah, I know what you're,
Bennett Hill.
I know what you're gonna
right,
say.
right, and basically actually, I'll defer to Ken because he's the one that got the call. We just took a little road trip up there yesterday afternoon, so.
Yeah, I guess there's the lady that lives in there's 90-something years old there. And they had someone in there got in there with a really small car, and they almost couldn't get out of there. Because of the difference of the road elevation and the driveway. And, I talked to the.
Because we
caretaker.
leaned it all away from the road, right?
Pardon me?
Because we leaned it all the other way?
Yeah, it's.
Joe asked me to lean it away from the driveway.
The highway, the town road's here, and the driveway's down here. I mean, I know the driveway goes toward the house anyway.
Yeah, Joe asked me to, instead of putting a crown the road there, he asked me if I just would please try to defer the water over to the ditch because the driveway
Yeah.
goes right to the house.
It does.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So we tried to put a little more dirt over there to tip it to the
Yeah.
ditch on the other side, so maybe it's built up a little higher than it.
Well, and then on the other, on the other side of the road, the ditch has gotta be cleaned too.
Oh, yeah,
There's virtually no ditch there.
Yeah, right after that
Yeah.
culvert, just above there, so.
right.
So,
And that one's only been there for 2 years.
But, if you can get hold of Joe and get over there with him, maybe you could talk to him.
Okay.
I don't, as you said, and as Ken and I were looking at it, we were thinking the same thing, is that side of the road is graded, so a lot of it's gonna shed to the west.
Well, yeah, we brought dirt from the other side over to build it up, so because he was complaining about the water running right down his mother's front doorstep.
Yeah, which it would.
So we
there's no
tried
question.
to deter it to the other side for him, and maybe we
Now-
built it up too much on that side to,
Now there's, probably on the, would be on the north side of it, it's
Right.
probably almost a foot drop off. I mean, it's substantial, so it's just,
the south side of the road, you mean?
It's outside the road.
south side of the
Outside, yeah.
road would be the
Outside.
east end of the driveway. It's
All right, I'll go up there and look at it and see if there's anything else we can do to it.
Yeah, but it's, again, the road looks great. The road's nice and smooth, but it's
Right.
it's one of those things, solve one problem but caused another kind of thing, so.
He said he wouldn't care if you, right where the garage is there, if you ditched that all the way down the hill, if that
Okay.
would help.
We did a lot of ditching on Madison Road also. I don't know if you guys seen that, but,
I mean, since last spring
oh yeah,
or summer?
about 2 weeks ago. All on the college property. I talked to them, they're fine with it. Do whatever you gotta do. We dug, there's banks, well, that's big on the side of the road. We took all them out, put ditches in, and so now the water can get off the road right through that.
Good.
Good.
And the next section will be the hard one.
Terry, have you, I don't know if you've spent any time on Potter Montgomery yet. I mean, it's been like a disaster.
Continuing saga.
Well, yeah, and
The
I think
first
the
part
longer
on your
we
end,
wait to do anything, the worse it's gonna get.
the first part on your end up to the house
Giving up the road or
could be
what?
patched very easily. From the house, the other way is where the problem area is, where all the water runs right down the road and just washes it right out. If you put loose stuff in there, you get a rainstorm, all of it's gone. I just don't know what to do with that section. That's the section we went up and you could see the water run right down the road. It just,
Yeah, I know, it's.
and I see the house just took all them trees down now. They had somebody come in, they took every tree right down the, so I don't know if we could dig that area out now and make it a little bit wider to get the water off the road, or,
Well, I think we had some folks in here, and I know that the person that bought that big tract of land was very interested in keeping the road open. And we agreed to keep the road open and maintain it, but I don't think there's been a truck in there
well, I went through there for green up day today, but
through the
that's about
winter
it.
or, so anyway, people have started to ask, what's the story with the road? I just was wondering myself.
Okay, we can do something with it.
Need to maybe sit down and, again, develop a little phased plan.
Right.
Is that, as we've discussed,
Well-
is a big.
Start to work it
it's a
into next
big-
year's budget,
yeah,
too.
It's a big, long-term project to solve the problem, which is
Well,
widening
to solve
and.
the whole problem.
Right.
But to keep the road passable, I don't think it's,
No, we can just,
because right
Yeah.
now it's
Throw money at
barely
it, but-
passable.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of one of those things that we can do that, it's just that we do what we need to do to keep it passable, because it is when it's a kind of the money pit,
Oh, no, I agree, but right now it's barely passable. It really is,
Okay.
it's
okay,
close to not being.
I will get it smoothened up. I mean, you can't put a grader in there, we're gonna put gravel in there to grade it, it's just
Right.
that bad. And we've been talking in our meetings, which probably will come up on agenda for too long, about
What meetings?
our Thursday morning meetings.
30, okay. Just
That we
didn't know
haven't
if you're
got on the
talking
agenda,
road
but-
foreman meetings.
No, but we, about some roads we wanna discuss with the board, of different scenarios with them, that, maybe it's time that possibly we did abandon them. I mean,
Looking forward, yeah.
looking forward.
Yeah,
Just
it's-
one, that's a easy no-brainer to me, would be Donald Green Road. Peckham's Industry bought it, it's just a driveway. We're plowing it with a big six-wheel dump truck.
Doesn't make sense.
It's 100 yards long, I mean, he got stuck in there last year, we had to go up and tow him out, and it's just a driveway. But I just think there's a few of them around town that we gotta look into that we shouldn't be putting our big trucks on them.
Or at least ask the question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. All right, anything else for Terry regarding
I
operations
just
and-
want to thank the road crew again for all of your help for Green Up Day stuff and the stuff that people don't tend to notice. I mean, you know, you got the skating rink put back and buttoned up. I think you guys are doing a great job, and, you know, some people notice a lot, and other people, you know, may not be in a situation where they notice what you are doing.
Right.
You know, which isn't always just, you know, flattening out a road with a grader. There's a lot of other stuff you're doing around town, and I am really thankful and appreciate
Thanks.
you guys, all you're doing.
Carl?
Absolutely.
Ken, any other questions for the moment? Thank you for that.
Just the other plug I want to, because we'll talk about it in Toronto Garage. You know, I mean, Terry and Ron have come to every one of these meetings. They're doing these site visits. And again, I just really commend you for the
Thanks.
time outside of work that, you know, you guys are putting in for the benefit of the town. And
Thanks.
I just want the board, all of the board members to know that may not see it.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
All right, well, we'll segue into the next report while you're here. This has to do, we've got two bid awards to award this evening. One for excavator, one for a 1-ton flatbed. So I'll let Margie kind of start us down the path
In
here.
brief summary, as your packet mentioned, you had two bids for the flatbed, 1 ton. We had Foster Motors bid, a net bid of $44,877, and we had Goss Dodge Chrysler bid in amounts that were, say, $1,500 to almost $5,000 more than that. And I think that to me, it's pretty suggestive that we have a low bid that
And
we
they
could award.
The Goss wasn't to spec either.
And, what, you found it was not?
Yeah, we
to spec totally.
talked
Yeah.
about it, yeah. Foster was 2 spec and they were the cheapest.
Well, that kind of,
So it makes it
ties
very
that down.
simple.
okay, now, just so we understand, this is for the cabin chassis only that we're bidding
Cabin
on?
chassis.
And we're looking to, and again, just for sake of, outside of this bid, but for sake of clarity, we're looking to fabricate a flatbed for this.
Well, we're gonna purchase one like the fire department did, almost identical.
Okay, so we're gonna,
But I was going to possibly do it as a package deal or possibly do it as a piece deal to find the best deal we could do.
Okay.
Because Neemer might have the best price on a plow, but Lucky's will have the best price on the flatbed.
Right.
So I didn't think there was any reason to put this all into one package when I thought we might be able to save some money, which I know we can save some money.
bidding the,
If we go, say Viking that we bought our last truck from sells us the plow $800 cheaper than everybody else, but like I said, Lucky's is $1,500 cheaper on the flatbed than anybody else. I
okay,
mean, they're one-day items. The plow will take a day for somebody to put on. The flatbed would be a day to put on, and the sander, we just pick up and it just sets on the back and straps down, so there's no long process to putting this truck together.
okay. And I know that with the sander, we're getting the drop-on sander. Is that something that conceivably will outlast the truck, and then we would continue using it in the future, or will this be, would it conceivably last, hopefully, or the length of the truck or more? Less?
Well, I don't, this is a trial and error for us. We've got a truck right now that we can use for one purpose. 3 months of the year, we can use the truck and we can't use it for anything else because it's got a V body on it. So we're trying to get a truck that we can multi-use for all seasons, for all different types of jobs. So I've been doing a lot of research, and some people, steel sander, nobody, it just said that's out. The stainless steel sander people like, and the plastic sander people like. So I still haven't got the full result of the plastic one I like, but I'm worried as much as we use it, it might not withstand. I don't know if Ken's had any,
Plastic ones are electric motors, aren't they?
you can get either way.
Okay, well,
Matt Morse has got a
I've
gas on
heard
his.
bad stories about them with electric motors. Well, not just that, any sander with an electric
The only thing I
motor.
liked about the plastic one, it has closing hoppers on it. You can close it down, so if you have salt in it overnight, it won't get wet.
That's a big plus.
That was one thing I liked about it, but
I wonder, and my thought is, again, knowing little, but are all the gears and everything plastics?
No.
Or the gears are all metal?
they're all it's a metal frame and plastic sides, plastic
So
top.
just the bin is plastic?
Yeah, so
basically.
it
Okay.
don't corrode and rot
Steel
out.
chain, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I can't imagine, you'd have to have some crazy sort of composite material to run like you would.
This stuff's
another-
rugged. It's amazing how,
Yeah, the bins don't buy, that doesn't
Rugged it
concern me
is.
as much, but I just was wondering about the drive, so.
next, the 15th is the big show in Barry. And Viking originally asked, I haven't heard from him again, if we would take our truck up and display it, because they wanted to sell it because of our truck. But I would like to go to that with Steve again, and they'll have several sanders on display. And I like to actually touch things and see what they are before I,
Or we buy that, okay.
so
Alright.
hopefully I can make a better decision after the show.
Okay.
Why do we need two one-ton trucks?
The miles of blacktop.
You don't have any more miles of blacktop you did in the 70s.
No, that's how we've been doing it. We don't usually get back any sooner than the other trucks do.
I don't know, I'm just concerned that we're getting more equipment here than we necessarily need.
Well, this truck's 11 years old that we're replacing. It's not
Well-
we're adding one, we're replacing one.
No, I'm not saying that, Terry. I'm just wondering why we need two trucks of that size anyway. I'm not disputing the fact that the truck is 11 years old and that's beyond probably what you should have. I don't dispute that. But I mean.
Well, the only
between-
situation, the only thing I can say to that is I'm sure we could do it with 5 trucks, but the town seemed to come to a new standard where they want the road smooth and they want the snow plowed now. And if we're already 4 hours with 2 1-tons, you're probably at least 7 with other guys helping out with 1 1-ton.
And wouldn't you also then have more overtime potentially?
Very easily, yes.
So you may save here and lose it there.
Right.
Even with 2 trucks, we've had complaints up on Twitchell Hill that they're not there fast enough.
Well, you get a lot of drifting
Wow.
up there though. On that
What?
Twitchell Hill, you get a lot of drifting.
Well, let me
I
ask.
know, but, you know.
Can I
they want
ask
the
a question?
service.
Sure.
You just said you question whether we need 2.
Mhm.
Why do you not question we can't do it with 1?
We did.
Then tell me, what's your basis for questioning it, I guess is my best way of
Well,
putting it?
w-
Just
right now-
because you've done it before in the
Well, no, I
1970s?
mean, you've got more than just the 2 1-tons. You've got other single axle trucks, you've got a 10-wheeler truck, like North Shaftsbury, to me, because it's blacktop, okay, you've got to send a truck up there, I agree, because it's blacktop and you've got to salt it. But you've got other trucks that can cover some of it too. And all I'm getting at, Carl, is you're talking right here between this pickup truck and that excavator, $250,000.
I understand. My only point, Kenny, is other than saying, I question whether we need 2 trucks, I'd like to hear why you believe we can do it with 1 truck so that at least I can get a response from him as to why he can or can't do it, as opposed to say, I think 2's too many.
Because, Carl, you've got other single axle trucks, not just that can go one way or the other way. You don't need just two 1-ton trucks, I don't believe.
I think collectively, as I'm paraphrasing, I think I'm hearing him say that, could we do it with 5 total trucks instead of 6, is what?
Yes.
Okay, and I just heard that would take probably 7 hours as opposed to 4 hours,
Right.
and that we might well have the pleasure of paying overtime because we're going to go over potentially a normal day.
Let me go a little further than that. I think I can answer this. The problem with what the scenario that you're not, this isn't like a private contractor, Ken. We don't have the luxury to wait till the snow is done. So 90% of the time, we start plowing when it's still snowing. So more than likely, we're going back to where we started again.
Oh, I understand that. I've been.
So it's never a 4-hour deal for us. And July 1st, we're basically cutting overtime out. No more overtime unless it's no possibility chance that you can't help it.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So let's just say, for some reason, we break a lot of steel wheels. Twice this year, we had 2 trucks break steel wheels. Got to come back. The 1-ton covers their route as much as they can and maintain their route. The 1-ton is like a versatile truck. It goes everywhere, and that's me. I take care of the village. I'm local. The other 1-ton goes out around. I help anyone else that needs it when my route is done. I do White Creek Road. I do Parent Acres. I do the other development, North Bennington there,
Harvest Hills?
Harvest Hills, North Bennington, Hawks Avenue. Then I come back up here, and if somebody has an issue, I go help them. Or if Dave gets stuck on Donald Green Road, we go up and I help him out. I'm the one that goes around, jumps around, and helps everybody else out. There's nobody ever sitting in the shop till everybody's done. Everybody helps everybody else out.
Oh, I understand that.
I mean, it's not like like 6 trucks is, one of them's just sitting around not doing anything. And plus, the 2 little trucks, and you know as well as I do, are a lot better for cleaning up than the big trucks.
Oh, I know that, Terry, but
I'm making a point. That's why I'm trying to make you believe that we do need a 6 truck.
Well, so, but maybe what we're talking about is 1 fewer big trucks?
At some point.
Right, I mean, I'm not opposed to,
If we took
you
a
know,
look at
little
that?
truck, big truck, whatever. I just think that somewhere along the line, I mean, you've got in the paper the other day, the state of Vermont raised fuel taxes 6 cents a gallon. They're looking at $32 million more in income into the treasury this year. And you got Joe Blow sitting down here, could be getting cut down to 30 hours a week
Right.
because of the federal health care law. People are hurting, and I just think that we ought to kind of watch everything as close as we can.
So basically, I'm going to paraphrase again, what I'm hearing Ken saying, he's raising the point, is it necessary? I don't think I'm hearing you say that it isn't. You're just asking the question,
Yeah,
can
right.
we do it differently, or can we look at
And I'm
it?
not picking on no small truck, I'm just saying,
The best answer, I
The
guess I could
overall.
say, is we could do it probably with 2 or 3 trucks. It's how long people want to wait for the roads to be cleared.
Yeah, and
That's the problem.
And that's a problem that we have, and I think that's something that's changed. I've seen it in my lifetime. It's went from, and I grew up in a rural area, not so different than this, in another state, where they didn't plow till, if you had a big storm, they didn't plow till it was done.
right.
These days, people, and I hate to say this, there are people that are grumbling that if we get a half an inch of snow and a squall in a half an hour, they're already grumbling that it isn't bare already. And that's not an exaggeration.
Oh, I know,
And it's just a different standard that we collectively have come to enjoy or understand.
Well, having said that, we do not have an express policy for winter maintenance. A lot of towns do. They declare themselves either a black roads town or a not a black roads town, meaning you take Manchester, for instance, they have trucks out there all the time. If it looks cloudy, they're out there.
They're salting before the
They're
snow
salting.
falls.
yeah.
I try to wait until
Yeah.
I feel that we can do it in one session to try to limit the overtime. And a lot of times people are calling, complaining before we start because I'm trying to delay them because I don't want them to go into the double session where we're in the overtime.
Oh, I know, Terry. I mean, I told Craig yesterday that when I had one selectman, who was nameless, but North Bennington would come out, Bennington came out. We had one of these storms, 3 days of snow flurries, just about freezing temperature. So in 3 days, and I had to put the grader out to clean the blacktop, then we'd go out with one dump truck and put salt on. Well, it went 3 days, and we had about 2 inches of white ice. Then it went 20 below zero. And then I got that selectman man, I said, hey, come here with me. And we went over all of our blacktop roads. I took him north Bennington, I took him to Bennington. And all their roads are nice and black, clear road. It took me about 3 days and sand them things till they were black because it was all ice.
I hear you.
And
that's what we're trying not to do.
You go one way or the other, and I'm not finding fault with what you're saying. I'm just saying that somewhere along the line, we got to start watching out.
Well, that's the best thing with this truck here. We're trying to change it where we don't have a truck just sitting in the yard anymore.
Yeah.
We've got an 11-year-old truck with 50,000 miles on it that basically is falling apart because of rust.
Yeah, well, I'm not questioning
So this
that.
time, we're gonna get a truck that can just set the chainsaws on the flatbed, everybody can get into it to go to a job. It's gonna be a multi-usable truck this time instead
No,
of,
like I say, I'm not questioning this truck in particular. I'm just saying the entire fleet.
I want to understand, so whether I agree with you or don't agree with you, I'm not quite sure at
Okay.
this point. Because are you disputing the fact, what they say is a fact, that if we have one less truck, it'll take several hours longer to get the work done? Do you disagree with that?
I don't think it's gonna take that much longer.
How much longer do you think it'll take?
That's gonna be on one end, each individual storm.
So you don't know?
No, nobody can
there's
know.
no way you can
You don't-
say
There's no way he
that.
But
can
you
know
don't,
when
you
he's
don't
out on
disagree
any
that
storm.
it'll take longer?
It'll take some longer, yes.
So the question, I guess, that your point is that the town should not invest the money, it should be willing to accept a longer time, whatever that time is, to have the roads cleared when there's snow, right?
I'm just saying that it's not, I think that the town will accept a little bit longer to clear the roads. I don't even think they'll know the difference.
Now, you live right in town, right?
I live in town.
I don't live right in town.
Well,
We have a lot of people that don't live right in town.
yeah,
And you have blacktop, don't you?
yeah.
I don't have blacktop. I think a lot of people don't have blacktop. I just want to understand, your point is that the town should wait a little bit longer to get the roads done, regardless of where they live, probably not that long to the downtown, but regardless of where they live, and save this money because you believe it's costing the town too much money.
Yes, I think the town has got to cut back on fleet, the whole entire fleet, as
Because
much
it's
as they
costing too
can.
much money, and
Yes,
even though there may be a cost to other people in terms of time and convenience.
I don't think there's gonna be enough to even know the difference.
Okay, I understand your position.
Okay. Any other questions for Terry or comments from the board on this matter? Thank you, Ken, for bringing it up. All right, that being said, then we've been talking about the flatbed, so we have the matter at hand is to, whether or not to award the bid. So we'll go from there. It appears that from the comments that Terry and Margie had at the beginning of the discussion, that there was one clear winner, if you will, in the bid, both in low bid and in meeting the bid requirements, and that is the bid from Foster Motors.
I'll make a motion that we award the bid to Foster Motors, and I just want to be sure I'm getting in the amount of $44,877.
Yes, it's a Ram 5500 chassis cab truck.
2013. It's a 2013.
I second that motion.
Is there any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the?
How much are the, do you have a figure on the pickup bed, the sander and the plow, Terry?
No, the bed's about $7,000. The plow's gonna be 10-foot commercial, probably, 10.5.
So you're pushing $20,000 for the unit?
No, the sander's only, yeah, 20,000.
Yeah.
We $64,000, and I think we put in 75 budgetary purposes.
How big's the sander? 2 yard?
2.5, I hope. Hopefully we can get a good dependable,
Will that truck handle that?
5,500, yeah.
Well, it was 65 after trade. We envisioned 75.
No, the
No.
5,500 series truck they're talking.
55 series truck. It's like a ton and a half.
Yeah, sorry. I'm thinking budget figure.
Yeah, we're still planning on getting $10,000, so we're gonna be back down to 55,000. So we're gonna be back down, we're gonna be $20,000 under budgetary numbers.
Is this the the 18,750 is the GVW on that?
Yeah.
Should we want to wait a meeting until, we'd have to go back to see if they're willing to honor the bid until we have a better plan for the body?
Well, I'm just saying the same body that's on the other 1-ton, it's the same amount of weight, and we never had a problem with that one.
I see no reason why we should have to wait.
I mean, even if they say they only put a
10 days.
two-yard sander on it, that's all I can get, is a
Yeah, but
2-yard
that
sander.
truck is one size bigger than the one you got anyway, isn't it?
They're 550s.
Oh, 550s.
This same truck, 5,500.
Okay.
Just, we've had a lot of problems with this truck out here. 1 motor, 4 transmissions, and they didn't want to warranty any, they did the first time, that was it. They wouldn't
Who was
warranty.
that?
Ford.
Yeah, but what dealer?
It was the one in Rutland there, they're right off the,
Oh,
I called Ford Motor,
Formula Ford.
no,
No?
I called Ford Motor Company directly, and they didn't want to do anything for us. Took it to Saunders, they took it apart, they found a bunch of debris that Ford forgot in it, and so it's the end of the story, we're just trying
And they
something
still
different.
didn't warrant that?
No. They had a whole bag of stuff, and I showed them, and
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of awarding the bid to Foster Motors in the amount of,
$44,877.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Make that as a 3-1 vote. Thank you. All right, then the next item is the wheeled excavator. Margie, if you can, well, actually, I'm going to ask Terry to kind of talk through the
okay. We have
background on the equipment
three-
and the choices.
We have 3 bids right here. We have a Milton Cat 316 Caterpillar machine. We have a Hitachi Z190, and we have a Volvo 160. You probably saw it right out here in the yard. And
Hyundai.
no, Volvo. Hyundai would not let us try it out.
Oh, okay.
It's EW 160 right out here in the yard. Going through, respectfully taking the guys' opinions on this. They drove it. They'll drive it as much as I will, if not more than I will. They picked the Volvo out of the 3, the Hitachi second, and nobody cared for the Cat, unfortunately. But the Volvo's the one they picked. But I would like to propose, and Craig and I, Margie didn't make it in Thursday, but how's the wording, I should say? We didn't put any words into the gentleman's mouth. We nonchalantly asked him a question if we had to trade our machine in,
Or if it could be sold.
or if it could be sold outright, and he said, we do not have to have the trade. I've already got a verbal commitment of a minimum of $7,500 bid for our machine. I would like to propose that we do a 30-day sealed bid on our machine, starting at $5,000, and advertise it heavily, as heavy as we can. Roads, maybe the banner, anything else we can advertise, maybe in the Equipment Trader magazine. And after the 30-day, take the highest bid on the older piece of equipment that we have. Brownell's offered us $7,500 today for it already, so there's $2,500 more than we were getting in trade.
Terry, I need to go back, maybe for the sake of minutes. So are you you're recommending the the Volvo,
Yes.
the bid, now the lowest bids were for the Hyundai at $153,727. And
That was a smaller machine, remember?
the smaller machine, and then the next size up was $169,249. And I remember that the drawback with Hyundai, we talked with private sector contacts locally who had used Hyundais, and the price was great, but they ended up having to spend a lot of time repairing.
A lot of expense, yeah.
A lot of expense.
Lots of parts expense. So that seemed like that may not be the way to go, but that is certainly the lowest bid.
And they also,
At $170,000. Then we go up $4,000 for a 2012 machine with very few hours on it. Then we go up another $3,000 to the Volvo. So it's 169. So we go up $8,000 to the Volvo. And they had said they would give us $5,000 for the trade. Now, if they don't take that as trade, what does that mean to
we pay
their?
182.
They'll honor he indicated that they would honor the sale price of the machine as noted in the bid that they provided.
Right here.
All right, I've got the Volvo bid right here.
Would they do any better on the warranty? They're the only ones that have a 1-year warranty?
That was the other thing, in the conversation, he indicated that he had made it was a typographical error, and because this did not match the earlier specs that they had provided earlier in the
I have
year.
a statement from February that he sent me that said 2 years, but once again, we did not. We just said, is there any other problems on this bid that maybe you overlooked? And he said anything in particular, and Craig and I went down through and said, well, you do have on here a toolbox that's not on the machine now. Oh, yes, that will be placed in. I said, well, anything else? He went down, he goes, oh, yes, the warranty is 2 years, not 1 year. My secretary, or he said his secretary, right, typographical error, we give a standard 2-year warranty on the machine. And he was supposed to email Margie,
Now, the others are willing to give us $12,000.
Mark, wait just a second.
Sorry.
Did we go back to every one of these people to
No.
negotiate? I'm a little concerned if we have an open bid and then we go back to only one and they start changing their offer.
Actually, and here I normally would be concerned with the same thing if we were negotiating. Both of these matters were posed as
clarification.
Going through the bid, we just hit on it, confirming what was in the bid. He volunteered the changes. He volunteered the change regarding the warranty.
He volunteered the change of the $5,000.
Related to the question was posed to him in exactly this fashion. Do you need to have the trade-in as part of the deal? And his response was absolutely not.
That's fine, but his proposal says it is, and then we go back and ask him the same question.
And the bottom line is, we could send it away for $5,000. It doesn't.
I was trying to save the town more money. Caterpillar offered us $25,000 for it.
I don't have a problem.
And they're more money than these were. I was just trying to make the,
My concern is not with the bids.
okay.
It's with the integrity of the system we're using to get the bids. That's my only reason for
Okay.
asking the question. I want to save the town money too.
Right.
But I don't want the appearance to be that we go back to the entity that we maybe would like to have, even though it's kind of expensive, and ask them, and only them, would you clarify your bid? Because I don't understand that it says it's such and such price minus 5,000 equals 182. That confuses me. How, I don't know, because the price is 5,000 minus, it's 182, and he changes it. And the warranty goes from 1 year to 2 years.
And that's not in writing.
That, to me, sounds like we're negotiating with the guy, even if we don't ask him to do anything.
Well, it is right there, Carl. See, he did put down sell price 182,650 minus trade, would be $5,177. So all our question was, do we have to give you that or not?
I see, okay.
But I do have an issue. I do want us to move through this, but we first initially put the bid out with no trade. And then we had to reissue asking for trade.
Well, I thought we always were on the program that we were gonna trade it in. I just didn't realize we were gonna get such little offered for it.
Well, we have up to $25,000 for it.
Well, I know, but I mean, on this one that happens to be right in the ballpark was only a $5,000 bid. So I figured if we could get 10 for it, we're making another $5,000. That's all I was trying to do for the town.
Right, right.
And here's the thing, if this does pose a concern for the board as a whole, that we, that we are changing the deal by not doing it, it isn't an issue, we can still send it away, it's not a problem. So, it's just it was,
I don't have an issue with that particular piece. They gave us a purchase price and, gave us an offering for the, I mean, it ends up the same purchase price if we don't trade the thing in. I don't have an issue with that.
So the only thing that they've changed then is really the 2-year warranty,
yes.
And I do have
without requesting it.
I do have a printed
Yes.
copy in February that said 2 years on. I can go get it out of my file cabinet. The same exact proposal, except for it said 2 instead of 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me feel somewhat better.
Yeah, it was volunteered, not asked.
Now, do we know the history of like Volvo versus the Hitachi?
Peckham said that all 3 of these right here were no problem getting parts for any of them within a 24-hour period. Their service departments were great.
This means for the Hitachi, Caterpillar, and
Yes,
Volvo.
the Volvo. They recommended all 3. They have good luck with them up here at the plant. The other one that they didn't have such good luck with.
What's the warranty on the Hitachi? I just see 84-month
He
full.
was kind of vague on all of his quote here was, but,
I'm looking at it, it
1,000
says,
hours, 36-month full machine warranty. If we use it as much as we believe, and I believe that we will, that's a 2-year warranty.
but the additional 84 full machine warranty upgrade for $4,100 is not part of the 174
Correct. At least that's the way I read it.
Yeah.
It's an additional.
That's an option.
option.
Yeah, add 4,100, so.
Now, there's still an $8,000, $8,600 difference between the Nortrax, Hitachi, and that Volvo. The Hitachi being cheaper. If you go, 182,650.
I'll let you know what happened there. I picked the Hitachi myself. I like the Hitachi. The other guys thought it was too big a machine. It was too tall. They were worried under the wires. It's about a foot taller than the Volvo is.
What were our specs for
Well,
height?
no, it's a 38,000-pound machine. That's what that is. Theirs is just a taller built machine than this one was.
Than what we spec'd?
No. Just a taller built machine.
The spec was the weight.
Based on weight.
We spec'd on
Just
weight. That's how they
weight.
weight.
Gotcha.
That's what they do is on weight.
Yeah, okay.
And for doing ditching, it was tough around the trees and
It was a great machine, as I recall.
I thought it was great. But I'm respecting
Well, we
guys
need
that I work with and
everybody is comfortable using.
Well, let's,
We've got, the prices are all a hairbreadth away from each other then.
And the initial proposed bid came in at 240, so we're way under that number.
And tell me once again, the benefit of Volvo versus,
The Volvo is offering, or adding in a $20,000 option that they're not charging us for. It's a 3-stick machine, which it means it has 3 arms. Ken probably wear this. This machine will actually suck right up to itself and almost dig right under itself.
I see.
And it's got almost 0 tail spin, so it doesn't swing out into traffic like the others do.
I see.
It's more of a compact machine, but it's the same weight ratio, and it runs just as smooth and as well as the other 2. I thought the Hitachi just felt a little different to me, that's all, but I'm all right with it. I'm all right with all 3 of them.
And for servicing Volvo, where's the closest that we would have it?
They're Williston. Same as,
Williston, up north.
same as the dump truck stuff.
Okay.
But they said they'll be here the next day, or
Oh, they come down.
they'll come down with service trucks, and Peckham said they're great. They have no problem with them.
Karen, questions?
No, I'm ready to,
Carl, any other questions?
Just one more, I can pull it up maybe and look, but do you remember what the delivery time is for this one?
After July 1st.
After July 1st?
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
If we were to purchase,
When after July 1st, I mean?
Well, this is the machine right here that we will receive.
Uh-huh, oh,
This
okay.
is it. It's brand
This is
new.
it.
Had 3 hours on it when we got it here,
I see.
it needs to go back, I think, to have a toolbox
and a thumb put on it.
and a thumb put on it, which the day in the conversation he indicated would be a couple of days' time. I mean, they, in 2 days, they could have it installed and back to us.
So I guess to continue on what I was saying, if the proposal I have brought up to you is okay, then we can immediately proceed with taking pictures and putting ours out for a 30-day, and we'll have that money before the delivery date is anyway.
And this also says FOB Williston, and I'm looking here for the delivery. I know they delivered the thing down here already, but they're taking it back. So is it going to be delivered down here again?
Yes.
Even though it says FOB Williston?
I can't imagine they'd have any problem delivering it again, but if it's not on there, it's,
They could conceivably charge us to ship it down here.
Oh, $500.
I'm not seeing it here, and I do see FOB Williston.
I'm just
They'll
a
charge
little-
you from the time that truck leaves till the time it gets back here.
Yeah, if they do charge us.
That's about six hours.
It's a good road trip.
I think they should.
I hate to
deliver.
say it, but I'll get it here for nothing.
Margie, what's your
Well,
concern?
we were getting bids before we modified the bid to say, we want a trade. We want you to take our existing excavator. Pete's Equipment had already submitted two bids. And so they really had to scurry around to put together another bid, different numbers, because we were suddenly asking for a trade. So I guess I'm back on Carl's question on process. What do we say to the other bidders when we suddenly go out to advertise our
I guess
machine for
I'm
sale?
not sure why we have to even say anything to them, because we chose this one here. If we chose this one, we could have done the same thing if
So
we
we
wanted
just
to.
awarded it based on
The 182,
the bid that suited our need.
right.
And then, as a result of having made that bid award, we agreed and negotiated that we would enter.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I don't think we'd had any-
That's fine.
They don't want,
That's
you know,
fine.
neither one of
We didn't have a
those.
choice if we'd gone with CAT, because they were giving us 25,000, so we wouldn't have had a choice for trade, but they're still the highest bid. See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, the answer as
Yeah.
you just stated it,
That I
is that
just
we
stated.
made,
Yeah.
the choice is based on the best, we feel the best bang for our buck, and then based on that, then we can determine whether a
Yeah.
outright sale would be a better option.
There've been a lot of numbers flying around, and if you want the numbers in the minutes, I really appreciate having them in order.
Could you pass this down?
Sure.
Okay, Carl, any other questions? I'm sorry, I think I left off on you.
No.
Ken? I know you had
You're
an
not
idea.
gonna wanna hear what I got to say.
That's why you're here. You get to tell me what you
When I
think.
bought my excavator, I bought a used excavator. I saved $100,000 over the price of an equivalent brand-new machine. I got on the internet, I found in 10 minutes, just random going here and there, various machines with anywhere between $2,000 to $3,000 on them, for anywhere between $60,000 and $120,000 cheaper than what we're talking about here. A machine with 2,000 hours on it is like a car with 10,000 miles on it. They're just broke in. These machines are good for 25 years. My excavator that I had before the one that I've got was purchased by my father in 1974. I bought it off of him when he retired, and I retired that machine 5 years ago. It's sitting in my backyard. It's probably going to be cut up for scrap or parted out. But I don't see why we've got to buy a brand-new machine when we can buy one with a few $100 or $1,000 on it for a lot less money. You might not be able to be quite as picky, but you can find them.
Okay?
I'd like to just make a comment on that. Well, my problem and issue with a used machine is, this is a town, it's not a private contractor. We don't have the luxury if the final drive goes and it's a $10,000 or $12,000 bill to fix that. It's not like we can just go into the budget anywhere we want to and fix the transmission easily without having to move monies from one place to another. And then how do you explain that to residents why you spend $110,000 on a machine, but then you had to go put $20,000 into it a year later? But in this case, you have a warranty for 2 years, and I'm sure if we want to, we can go in and buy an extended 5-year warranty on it. And it's all fixed into a set rate to buy the machine, and you have no issues with it. That's my only question with that. You have no idea if the machine you're buying was in a rock quarry for 2 years, or if it was in a cow pasture digging topsoil. You don't know how hard that machine's been
You have
run.
run equipment damn near as much as I have.
And you can tell if they're
You can
loose or
look at it
tight.
and you can tell pretty well, and run it a little bit, you can tell how bad that's been used or how good it's been used.
But the second part of this whole thing is, how do you go to a dealer today, they got a used piece of equipment there and say, I need 30 days to buy that equipment, hold it for me? Not a lot of them are gonna do that.
Well, I'm just putting it out there.
I'm just trying to say it's
I
a little more
understand.
difficult
I
to
understand.
do it through a town like this, to do it that way, and to answer all the questions in the future of why you did the decision you did. This way here, you're covered, you're covering all your angles. It is more money, but you're covered. They're saying that they're gonna take care of this machine for you. They're saying you're spending $177,000 and you're guaranteed for 2 years or 5 years that you've got a machine that's going to run. I'm just trying to make the best decisions for the town's money that I can.
Well, so
I
am
agree, 120,000 is a lot less than 177 until you have an issue, then you got questions why you did that.
Right, but we're talking about the truck and the excavator tonight, and you're talking about $250,000.
I realize that.
Now, this,
And
to
then
me,
how long
to
do
me,
we go again before we buy anything?
right,
4
but
years.
Another thing, well, yeah, but a truck, if I wasn't more concerned about the number of trucks, the fleet size, I would have voted for that truck. But when we're looking here at this truck and this excavator, we're looking at $250,000.
The other thing you gotta
Now-
realize, Kenny, is this wasn't supposed to be till 2016, the excavator.
Right.
We had no idea we weren't gonna be able to buy parts for it, so we had to move it up before you
Excuse
got
me,
here.
Excuse me, I called Caterpillar, and I gave them the number of that Cat machine that we've got, and they told me they can get any part that's
Yeah.
needed for that.
I'd like to talk
That
about
was
you
that was a
talk
parts department, so I'm sorry.
to. Ken, the thing sat on Lamb Road for 3 weeks, we couldn't buy a hose for it.
We'll get one made.
We did, Albany Hydraulics, 3 weeks to make the hose. They're British metric fittings, they couldn't make it. And I promise you, I went round and round with Cat because it said Cat on it, and they said that machine's a Mitsubishi. It's not a Cat. They bought it from Mitsubishi, painted it Cat colors, and they sold it as
The
a
only thing
Cat.
I can tell you is what the parts man told me, and my concern is not just what we're talking about tonight, but we're looking at a town garage, which I believe that we need.
Yeah.
And my feeling is if the people of the town don't feel that we're being as economical as we can with their money, that they're gonna take that garage and say, no, you're not gonna get any more now than you did before.
Can I just point out that this was a discussion we had during, during budget season? I mean, the voters voted on this. They could have come to town meeting and said, we don't want that. I mean, we presented the equipment to the residents. I think that our town meeting presentations are fairly specific in terms, we don't gloss over stuff. we've, over, the last 5 years anyway, I think have tried to be very careful in how we present the upcoming budget to the townspeople. And so, I think that we have had a history of protecting the town's money. We've had very difficult economic times. We're looking at surpluses over the last several years. And that's not because we're over budgeting, that's because we're pinching pennies.
No, I'm not trying to follow that, Karen.
Wherever we can, and, if this was something that we were looking at that had not been presented to the townspeople, and they had not given us a positive vote on it, I would be questioning myself too. But we've gotten the approval from the townspeople. And, I've looked at situations with, our fire department. We've had the same conversations around fire trucks. Should we be buying used trucks? Or should we be buying something that we believe is better suited for the particular job we're going to put it towards? We've had situations with certain trucks that, I won't say nickel and dime, we spend a lot of money on repairs of older vehicles.
I'd like to think that the townspeople see that we're taking care of this stuff. I mean, I came out my day off and painted that old grader. It looks like it's brand new now.
No, I don't question that, Terry.
I'm just saying, we're trying to take care of the stuff so it does stay longer.
Right, I'm not questioning that, I'm just questioning economics. Dollars and cents.
Carl, anything else?
I understand Kenny's point. I think Karen's point is more persuasive, frankly. The town has voted on it. My real concern is that a town is required to make judgments using different dynamics than a person in a private business, especially if it's a one-man, two-man business. The town owes its responsibility to the residents. A person in a private business owes a responsibility only to themselves. And what may seem logical in a small business makes no sense in a governmental situation, and vice versa. I'm very concerned that every time we mention dollars, there seems to be an issue at the board, especially since many, if not all of these matters have been discussed previously. Where I come from, I have had to rely on experts who knew things better than I do. In this case, with due deference to Kenny and your many, many years of experience, our expert is Terry. And I know that he knows the roads as of 2013 as opposed to 19-something. And I am very deferential to rely on his opinion unless there's something really, really wrong. There's a saying my father used to tell me when we at home used to talk about whether we get a new car or a used car. And his answer was always, what do I want a used car for? I've got a used car. My thought goes the same way here. We owe a responsibility to this town. We are paying an expert a very, hopefully, reasonable livelihood so he can give us his opinion. He's given his opinion. I've not heard anything other than, well, if you look on the internet, and of course we have to believe everything that's on the internet. But I am very, very deferential to that expert's opinion, and with all due respect, Kenny, I see no reason to question the arguments made by Terry.
Okay. Karen, anything else?
No, I'm just looking at the figures based on, what we budgeted, and it's coming in right at the ballpark of 175 if we are able to get $7,000 on a trade-in. That's what
We already got a
we-
verbal of 7,500, so I think we could even do better than that.
Yeah, so that's what we presented to the townspeople, and, I'm very concerned when we make a presentation to the town, and we're very specific in what we're looking for, and the townspeople approve that, and if we turn around and make a different decision, that frankly, down the line could maybe not be the piece of equipment we wanted, or ends up costing us more, we may have people saying, well, we told you to go ahead and do that, so why didn't you go ahead and do it? Believe me, nobody likes saving money as much as I do. And, I can be a thorn in the side sometimes sitting at this table, but I think this is this has been approved by the townspeople, and
Okay.
I support it.
I know of all the due diligence that went, and I just want to call attention to, I already did to Terry, that I think that there is, if anybody went back through the town report, they're going to find a little bit of discrepancy in that that's the report. It mentions the budget was for purchase of a used excavator. And I know I think we had been talking all along a new or / used excavator. So I think that in the final version of this town report, that was not caught. Okay? I'll find it for you.
All right. Any further discussion? Did we get to a point of having a motion in a second, or have we got that far yet, or were we discussing it first? All right. Do we have a motion to approve or award the bid for the Volvo excavator? Is a Volvo EW 160D
CRW.
from Woods CRW Corporation.
I'll make the motion that we award the bid for model EW160D wheeled excavator to Woods CRW Corp. And for the purchase price of $182,650. The understanding that we will sell the current excavator on our own.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to just get clarification from what you found out, Margie. You said that you believe there is
No, I think that I think we had, maybe it was the other town report. This is the most recent one.
I don't have my town
I think it
report
might have
with
been
me.
the other report that I was looking, because I don't find it in this one. Let me, but it was a mention about the excavator. In Lon's budget guide.
I remember there was some talk about used/new, because there had been one that Terry was looking at that had not many hours at all. It was like a
It
2012
was the Hitachi.
That's it.
that 300 hours or something.
But
yeah.
originally, they were talking more in the price range of mid-250s for it, and
Right.
there was no way that we could,
Right.
that amount would ever fit into the budget.
Right.
They gave us a preliminary bid of $240 for that machine.
Well, I don't see it in the narrative. I had seen it somewhere, and I just don't.
I think we had the
See it
new
again.
just to see what we could get for prices versus the 240 for the used one.
Right.
Well, my concern is that if we have that reference in the town report, and if we compared the new prices to used prices and find that new is fiscally more conservative, then I believe we should proceed where we're going. But if we say only used in there, we need to do that. I would feel the need to do that investigation before voting to take the new one, to know that that's
Well, I
why
don't
we're
see it in
spending the money.
our,
We had always discussed in the meetings.
I remember we
here,
discussed
used
it.
and New and used, I don't know.
I'm concerned
Whatever
because,
got
but
printed.
this is what went to the
No.
town.
you know, it's,
It's not,
I'm not finding it. Oh, here, budget notes. CAD excavator. FY14 budget proposes trading in the 1988 excavator for a newer used excavator.
New or used. Okay, good.
Very-
I'm at ease.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor of awarding the bid to Wood CRW for the Volvo excavator signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
That vote would be 3-1. Thank you for the input, everybody. All right. Terry, I think that's it for you. If you can obviously stay with us, but I
Can I
think
ask a question?
you may.
Do we want to proceed immediately with some type of sale on that machine, and how would you like to do it?
Sign.
Okay.
Do you want to do a sealed 30-day bid, or do you want to just put it out for price for sale in like a lawn ad magazine?
Are we using it now until the other one comes in?
I'm trying to sparingly use it, yes.
I mean, we can't give it up until, I wouldn't think.
Well, if we had to go 30 days without it, we probably could survive. If we gave it up at the end of May,
And what's the wait time on, well, it's.
July,
here.
beginning of
Got it.
July.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, the equipment, as we
So
said,
this
it's,
one is ready to go?
yeah, it's the one that's here. It needs to go
Right.
back for a couple pieces of machinery or equipment to be put on it.
And Terry, can you confirm back to Margie that it will not be FOB up there, but FOB down here?
I'll make sure of that.
That was in regards to what, the
The
Delivery.
Delivery.
delivery?
They'll bring it down here.
Yeah,
You need these
definitely.
back?
That was the way our specs read.
I need this one. I need
Okay.
to sign it. Or
You want this
Now,
one too?
I should have all the originals
Yeah.
back.
Okay, here you go.
So what do you think about this?
Let me just see something here.
To go and put out,
So-
do you think it's
Yeah.
preferable?
Yeah.
Try,
Yeah.
certainly.
Now, this
Sealed bid?
is for a net of trade.
I think we'll get
So
lucky with that. I do.
You think so?
this makes it look like we're
Well, we know we're
accepting
at
a
75
bid
minimum,
in
so-
that amount. So we have to amend somehow.
What's,
I mean, the bid that we were asked to look at says sell price, less trade, net of trade for 177,650. So by signing this, it means we're agreeing to a net price of 177,650.
He was supposed to send you an email with a,
See anything?
I got one, I thought it said your name on it too.
I think what we probably could do is simply cross it out and
Initial.
initial it
put
and
their
say,
purchase price.
original purchase price.
Why don't you do that? Thank you.
So just, okay.
Okay.
All right, so the answer is,
I
if we
think
answered
it's-
Terry's question, sealed bid,
I think sealed bid.
I agree.
30 day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now, wait a
Just
second.
wait till
Let's,
Kenny gets here.
if we could
Do you
talk,
think we need to wait that long? 30 days?
I just was gonna make sure everybody got an opportunity to come down and, because I think we put on Vermont local roads, I think there's gonna be some other towns that might show an interest. Little towns that could use an excavator. They might wanna travel down here to see it, and some of them just two-man crews, it's hard for them to get all the way down here.
We need to just come up with a description, and
Yeah.
so we'll work on that, tomorrow?
Sure.
Kenny, we're talking about the current excavator, putting it out under a sealed bid, 30-day bid. What do you think about that?
Or even 20-day bid. I mean,
Well, if that's as hard as Terry says to get parts for, are we making ourselves liable for selling something like that to somebody?
We've already got a $7,500 bid that we can start at,
Sell it as is.
to sell it as is.
We also had a similar problem with one of the fire engines, and it sold pretty well.
that thing sold for a premium, which blew my mind. I mean, you got to disclose it. I mean,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
that there's issues with it, but, yeah, the fire truck had ongoing, they couldn't keep the thing running, and they were hoping to get X, and they got like 30 or 40% more than that, disclosing the problems with it.
Well, Karen, when she said that about the fire trucks, brought something to my attention, or it made me think of something. Isn't there an issue with fire trucks being used as far as changing the insurance rate in the town?
I don't have an understanding of that. I mean,
It just, when I worked for the town, it seemed like it just sticks in my head.
don't know, I can't comment on that, don't know that. I've not heard that, but it doesn't mean yay or nay, so.
You're the insurance man.
Well, that and 50 cents will buy me a cheap cup of coffee.
We have an expert here in the audience.
Not an expert, but there's a rating.
Yeah, you are.
And you probably are familiar with the insurance ratings for the town. And part of that rating system.
Oh, okay.
Takes into the protection for.
That's what it-
Each individual place left in town. I mean, if I got a hydrant within 100 feet, that helped me on my insurance.
Yeah, it's not
If it's equipped plus, it's good. If it's better, more, whatever, but. there's
full-time,
no
part-time, yeah.
that Over 20 years old, and then, well, I've always heard this, I'm not sure it's gospel, but I've always heard, well, they won't accept an engine over 20 years old. I know a lot of older ones still in service, but the majority of them, they're not.
The ISO rating, actually, which was just up,
That's what it is.
yeah, it was just, it was actually just updated, now that you say that, about, I'm gonna say within the last year, and the new ratings are more stringent, but that is the ratings, it's basically a class 1 through 10. Part of it is equipment, part of it is full-time
Yeah.
versus part-time, water supply, there's a whole gamut of
Yeah, I
things.
thought it,
Yeah, so,
You haven't lost it all.
not yet.
all right, next item up for discussion is the select board vacancy at long last.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Terry.
We have, as many of you recall, at our last regular meeting, Bill Obenauer, member of our board, tendered his resignation due to educational requirements that he was taking on, and so that leaves us a vacancy. Immediately after that meeting, the position was posted, as is required by statute. Margie can tell you how and where that was done. Can you? No. Margie?
Well, we ran an ad in the banner, was on our website, and that's posted around town, and
Posted in our normal spots. So, as a result of those postings and notification, we had one courageous member of the community send a letter to us expressing interest in joining the board. Mitch Race was that person. Many of you on camera, as well as many in the audience, know that he ran in the election last fall, was very interested in joining us at that point. Glad to see that he still is. So, so that was our only, that was the only candidate that, or only person that expressed an interest. Statute, as we reviewed it, basically allowed us, there's three ways that the select board can handle a vacancy on the select board to fill that position. The select board can choose to appoint a member of the community to that position through the next election or till such time as election can be had, and that appears to allow the option to the board on how exactly that's handled. The position can be filled by election called by the select board specifically to fill the position. Or the third option is that the community can petition the board with the certain percentage of the voters can request an election. So those are the three options available to us. Elections are expensive, but they're very much part of what we would need to do if either the board, majority of the board decided that was the right thing to do, or if the community brought a petition to us. Or the other option would be to appoint. So I guess the first order of business as I see it was I would ask the pleasure of the board what they thought would be what they feel is the best option to fill the position. Which of those three options? Which would each of you individually prefer?
Well, for me, considering we've only had one letter of interest, I would be supportive of an appointment. Had we had more than one, you could potentially have a race. You could have, allowing people, the voters to make a choice. But there didn't seem to be any additional interest either than, one individual. So I would be, and frankly, I think it's important for the board to be a full board. This board has historically been a pretty actively working board, along with Marty, who works all the time. And I, for one, like the support of 5 board members to sort of share the load.
Okay, thank you. Carl?
Yeah, I agree completely with Karen's comments. I think the only other thing that I would add is that I believe by the rules that somebody had not sent in a letter but showed up tonight and expressed interest, that person could be considered. I haven't heard anything from the present audience, so I'm assuming that, if you will, second chance has also now expired. Again, since we do have someone that has expressed interest, and I see no particular, and it has been advertised per the requirements, I see no benefit to the town to delay an appointment.
Okay. Ken?
I just agree with what Carl said, and
Okay.
why do I belabor the point?
Good point. As do I. All right. So it appears that the option, or the board by consensus has indicated that an appointment would be the right thing to do. Policy that we've had on the board is generally that if we appoint board members to the various boards, with one case recently, which we were reminded of very aptly, we generally interview the members who are interested in being appointed. Mitch is here tonight with us, and if he'd be kind enough to come up and chat with us, we could interview him and pose a few questions to him.
What do you want to know?
If I might suggest that maybe Mitch should start off by explaining his qualifications to the public, because the public may not have seen the letter that he sent to the board, obviously, and
Right.
so
Yeah,
put the burden on him.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, thank you, Carl. Well, I'd like to participate. I've lived here for 13 years. I'd like to be involved with what's going on in the town. I'm the president of the Shaftsbury Historical Society, which is, we don't have kids, so I like to give back to the community as much as possible. I think the current select board is a good board, and they're moving over the last few years I've been attending. I think I can complement the board. I'd like to see Shaftsbury become all it can be, with the best possible, with more inclusiveness and openness and transparency. That's about, that's it. I mean, I'm willing to put in the time to move the town forward.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions.
Mitch, you're currently serving on the Development Review Board.
Correct.
would you, think about continuing that, or, you know?
Well, at this point, the idea was if I was elected back then during the election, I was going to resign the DRB after a month or so, possibly, depending on it. I was going to see if I could do both. But having been there and the Historical Society and been to these meetings, I think 2 boards are about as much as you can handle in this town. So I'll probably be resigning the DRB if I'm accepted in.
I don't believe there's any, just to clarify, I don't know of any statute that would require him to be on one or the other, but I like his common sense approach. In my own mind, it seems to make sense, just from a time standpoint.
And then the other question that I would have, if appointed, you know, I mean, the future is, none of us can predict it, but would it be your expectation that you would want to run again? I mean, I would assume that it would be in the March, you know, our normal March elections.
Yeah, I mean, unless something severely bad happens.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I plan on being around for a while.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, thanks. That's
Okay, Carl?
Mitch, maybe you can elaborate in 25 words or less some of the skills that you have that you might bring to the board that you think would be beneficial to the town.
Okay, I have some project skills. I work on teams with my professional life to get to take concepts, work out plans, you know, proof of concept. We do a POC of the concept. Once we can work out the details, then we work together to fine tune it and implement stuff like that in the production. So, I mean, a team environment is good. I like to debate different ideas, good, bad, or indifferent. And I've been overruled on more than one occasion. And I've, you know, fell in line. You know, I made my case of why I thought it should be done a certain way. And they brought their cases, and they said they showed me the errors of my way, and I eventually agreed with them, so. You know, I mean, as long as you have a good argument as to why something should or shouldn't be done, you know, we're open to that.
Thanks.
Ken?
I see he's perfectly qualified. I don't know why I need to carry on any further.
No, I think I had the similar questions, and you provide some background information, some of the things you bring to the table. In my opinion, there is, you know, I don't think there's anything else I need to ask.
Okay. I mean, I believe in I'm a can-do type of person. I like to see things moving forward and make things happen.
Okay. Good.
And you know, I've known Mitch, certainly, I really got to know Mitch through some of the 250 celebrations the town had, the opening year and our culminating year. And Mitch was instrumental in terms of helping to move those activities forward. I've watched him on the Historical Society board bring a lot of energy to that organization. You know, there's lots of things happening up there that I think just were not happening. You know, there were a lot of possibilities that, you know, it's those kinds of activities don't take place unless you have some real enthusiastic, hardworking folks behind it. And Mitch is certainly one of those people, along with Norm and Mary, who happen to be sitting here, who have contributed mightily, I think, behind the scenes to, as you say, move the town forward and do really good things for the town and the townspeople. So I thank you for all of that.
Thank you, Mitch.
Okay.
All right, then I have one thing that I want to pose to the board, and I just want to ask your pleasure on how to proceed. We have a consensus to appoint. We've interviewed our candidate, talked with him. As the statute requires, as I mentioned earlier, we need to, the appointment will be until the next election, whether it's with the next, either regularly scheduled or one that is scheduled. I pose the following. Should we appoint Mitch to the position through the next regularly scheduled election, which would be next March? The one positive of that would be, one, he's with us for the next 8 months, 7, however long that is. But the potential downside is that we ended up with the majority of the board being up for election next March. Probably not a huge deal, but it could be. You don't know what could happen between now and next March that could cause a great deal of uproar. For whatever, good, bad, or indifferent, there could be problems. For part of the reason that the board is staggered in terms is to try to bring us to a position so that the majority of the board conceivably is always remains seated through an election. So it is supposed to ensure continuity through elections. My suggestion would be, as an alternative to overcome that issue, would be to appoint Mitch through, let's say, a November election date. I picked that for 2 reasons. One, it isn't a regularly scheduled election this year, so it would still be a special election. But one, it is the normal election cycle, so people would not be, it wouldn't be a big shock to them to vote the first Tuesday in November. And secondly, there is at least discussion at this point. It's not a set in concrete thing, but related to the town garage vote, to have an election in November as far as a bond vote. My thought would be that we might appoint or make the appointment through, or it could be posed so that he's appointed through March unless an election is done in November. At such point, he would go on a ballot in a November election if we otherwise had one. I may be making this much more complicated than it needs to be, but I only offer it because of the potential concern of turning over a majority of the board in one election.
Doesn't the rule say that if there is, whatever the next election is, whether it's special or regular, that's how long the tenure is? So do we even need to go through that if we're going to have another election in November? I don't have it in front of me, but I read it earlier this afternoon.
I don't remember reading it that way, but
I could look it up.
We're not sure we're going to have an election in November, are we?
Well, the town garage committee is working towards.
Yeah, I know, but that don't,
if we end up,
could have an earthquake though.
right, if we end up, well, this gets into the whole town garage thing, but there's 2 different options we're looking at. One is for funding through private banks or going through the bond bank. Now, of course, even if we were funding through private banks, we would need a vote of the townspeople.
Was there anything more done on that, Karen, as far as bond vote or local bank? I mean, had we found anything more been found out?
I don't know if Bill Fisk has any more information.
I didn't remember hearing anything about it either.
No, I mean, if there's anything more, we'll review that on Wednesday night. I haven't seen anything more, but.
If I may, if that isn't required, if the law doesn't say whatever the next special or regular election.
Until election can be had.
Until election can be had, so.
I think that's what the wording is.
I'm trying to see where it is here in my, my concern only if it's not required to be done with whatever special election that might come up, that by forcing it that way, we are potentially creating a very, very short time for the new appointee to show performance to the town.
Right. Frankly, I would be concerned about.
I got it here. Margie, I think I have it
The
here.
problem with with November is that you're just starting budget season. And, once again, we always need a full board, but,
Definitely at that time.
it would be really helpful to have somebody that. Is a special election different from a vote? In other words, if we had a bond vote in November, is that considered an election?
Well, let me just read what it says,
Yeah.
okay? When such vacancy occurs, the remaining select persons may then call a special town meeting to fill the vacancy, either on their own initiative or by a valid petition, or they may appoint a person in writing to the position, so it would have to be in writing, obviously, until an election is held, either at a special or the next annual town meeting. So it sounds like if we have a special town meeting,
Or special, yeah, right.
it's a term they're using, call a special town meeting, or if we want to just appoint it, then we'd have to wait for an election is held until either a special or the next annual town meeting. So if we're not going to have a town meeting for the bond issue, then we don't have a town meeting if we're just going to have a vote. That wouldn't be a town meeting.
So in that case, then it may be a moot point.
Well, we conduct business at the town meeting by Australian ballot. That's how we elect officers. So basically, what we're scheduling is an Australian ballot vote.
I thought we were actually just going to have a vote, like on election day vote, as opposed to have a meeting and
You
then
mean
have an
on the
Australian
floor?
vote.
But
Yeah. Or we're going to have a floor discussion and then a vote?
No, we're going to have an
Australian ballot. So like a regular federal or state election, you go to the voting. So that's not a town meeting.
Yeah, I believe that, I think.
Right.
As I would read this in reasonably in literal language, I would concur with you. So, okay, in that case, as I look at that again and with the counselor's good argument, I think that I take my question off the table because I don't think it's relevant. Okay, in that case, then I would entertain a motion to appoint a new select board member through the town meeting date next year, 2014.
So moved. I move that we select Mitch Race to fill the vacancy presently available on the board to be held through the next annual town meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, yes.
Any discussion?
Should we maybe have Margie get a hold of the Vermont League of Cities and Towns and check that?
No, we've talked about it enough.
Okay, I didn't know.
No, that's exactly what the statute says. I've had Judy research it, and she called the Secretary of State's office.
Okay,
And there's actually a legal opinion that we got too that more or less concurs with that as well. It doesn't, put it this way, it doesn't make it any clearer to the opposite, so,
well, it's not supposed to be,
yeah, it's the.
done by lawyers.
Thank you.
I apologize.
Now,
Present company excluded, right?
Yes.
Now,
yes.
mind you, the voters can petition
Right.
to call a special meeting
Yeah.
at any point after this, if
Right,
you
if-
agree to take action tonight.
Yeah, if the members
They
of the
aren't
community don't
happy?
like our appointment, they can still call for an election,
Okay, all
so,
right.
so we're still good.
And then there'd be, if there were a special town meeting,
What?
whatever we said here is
They can-
moot because it can only go to a
Voters can
special town
petition
meeting.
Anything.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor of appointing Mitch Race to the select board through next year's town meeting signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
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 Now, it-
So in the morning, you
No.
need to go take your oath.
You
Well,
gotta
wait. It says it has to be in writing.
Yes.
So I think what needs to be in writing before he takes an oath.
Yeah.
And in the next meeting, I will have to have something read into the minutes for my job.
Oh, right,
Say that I don't
yeah.
have a conflict of interest and so.
Okay.
I'll let that read.
Okay. We'll have a document for you. Margie or I will email you probably tomorrow to let you know that it's ready, and then he'll have that, and you can sign your oath of office, and then you're good to go.
I have to just close down, but he's gonna have to pay for the new excavator.
Oh, there's that part, yes.
Oh, we
Hey, I
forgot-
said we needed another board member to carry the
You
load.
didn't understand
you know?
why. She said carry the board, so. Yeah. Thank you for volunteering though, but it's,
Yeah, thank you
we
very
really do
much.
appreciate it.
And may God have mercy on your soul.
That he put it on the board, and vote of confidence I got from the board tonight.
Very good. All right. Now, this is the point where we really pick up speed and start moving through the thing.
Yeah,
Because
right.
we are at our timeline right now.
Yep,
Optimal.
yep.
Okay.
Are we supposed to vote to go over, or is that at like at 9:30 or something?
But there, I think we in loose terms said we could get up and walk away if we got tired of it at this point. So know that could be coming.
Okay, got it.
Annual appointments. Do we have, which ones do we have, Margie? Let's see if we can.
I sent them around. I will read them right off. These are folks that I've already talked to. We've advertised. They've all expressed, the incumbents for the most part have all asked to be reappointed.
And there's been no one else wanting to take their positions
No.
from them? Okay.
Correct. Now, Animal Control Officer, Tracy Mulligan. Emergency Coordinator, Jerry Madison. Energy Coordinator, Ben Hewlett. The Fire Wardens, we do separately. I don't have anybody stepping forward for Health Officer.
Barry Mayer. I thought Barry's
He
volunteered.
declined.
No.
Oh, he did?
Uh,
That's too
Very
Let's see,
respectful.
road commissioner is a vacancy. You can talk about that perhaps separately. I don't know if you feel like there's anybody else other than the road foreman who should be in that role.
That's who it's been for.
That's who it has been
Yeah.
customarily.
Yeah.
Town service officer, we had a declination, if you want to say, from Kathy Cardiff is refraining from being appointed again. Tree warden Jim White would very much like to be reappointed.
Okay. So, you need a motion to,
I think that we could
A
have,
blanket motion?
that would work for my sake if the other board members would,
I concur.
We can give this to our recorder.
okay, so let's spit that out. So that we're clear, we're going to,
so we're going to reappoint Animal Control Officer, BCRC,
No,
No.
we're doing that separately.
no, I'm sorry,
Right.
Jerry Madison is Emergency Coordinator, Energy Coordinator, and Jim White as the Tree Warden. Did you second?
Is that your motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I second it.
Did you want to amend that motion to include Terry Stacy as road commissioner?
Yes, I thought I was going to do that separately, but
Okay.
I would, yes, I would include Terry Stacy as road commissioner in that motion.
Cirrus,
There were
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that would be 6. Tree warden, Jim White, Terry Stacy as road foreman,
road commissioner.
BCRC commissioner.
No.
Oh, no,
No,
we're doing
we're
that
not
separately,
doing
sorry.
BCRC.
Emergency coordinator, energy coordinator. 1, 2, 3,
Road commissioner.
4, 5. There's actually 5, Sandra. 5. Yep. Got him?
Any discussion?
And tree warden.
There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously, 4-0. All right, BCRC Commissioner and Member at Large. This is to be part of the Bennington County Regional Commission. This is basically the county planning organization, if you will. What are we smelling? Whatever it is.
Oh.
It's pretty, it's a different smell than I've,
Oh, that's my hand sanitizer.
oh, okay. So it's all, Ooh, I was.
Very nice, Mary.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Oh,
It was a pleasant smell, but I'm thinking, aren't some of the real dangerous chemicals have a really pleasant smell before they put you out? Away?
Actually, though, but I am going to have a brownie. I am.
Yeah, those are good brownies, by the way. I could smell them earlier, but
Watch her.
all right. So as I was saying, the BCRC commissioners, generally, each of the boards in the community, in the communities in the county generally have one of their board members as a member of the BCRC. And then there's generally one additional member from each community or often is at least an at-large member. Usually the at-large member is someone within the community that has some special talents or understandings that may help the proceedings. Currently, as of this moment, I have been the board member, the BCRC member for a while now. I don't remember how long, a couple of years on the board. And Bill Pennebaker has been the at-large member of the community. Bill hasn't expressed an interest to continue in that role. He has enjoyed that and likes being part of that. I, unfortunately, given other responsibilities, probably am not going to continue with that, or I'm not going to continue with that role. So I've asking if there's other members of the board. I'd actually asked Ken specifically if he'd be interested, but it's an open invitation to any of the members of the board or future members if any of you are interested in taking on that role. Not a particularly onerous role from a standpoint. They usually meet monthly, usually somewhere within the county. Usually, most likely or most usually it's Bennington, because that's kind of the center of the population, basically. Occasionally in Arlington. Usually they'll discuss, we've discussed things from the passenger rail service has been a topic of discussion, repairs to, what? Yeah, all of those sorts of things. And, as a commissioner, you do have some voice to, as they discuss those things, to provide some input from the community. So, with that being said, there's 4 of you. If any of the 4 of you are interested, are you interested, Ken?
It's, whatever.
2 of you, I asked Ken first. I'm gonna defer to him.
If you want, I can do it, yeah.
Okay, well, in that case, then, with the board's approval, we could accept the offer from from Bill Pennebaker as our at-large representative and Ken Harrington as our board-appointed representative.
Do we need to vote on that? Or
Yes, we should do that just to make it official. So if I have a motion to that respect.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Sorry.
Any abstentions? Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you.
Now, just to clarify that I am not clear, I think the regional commissions do this a little differently, commission to commission. Is this for a term that's indefinite for regional commissioner, or was that just for an annual?
I thought these are annual appointments.
I think they're
That's what I
annual.
think so.
I believe they're annual
Yeah,
appointments.
Okay, so this is just an annual,
Yeah.
Right.
Ken, it's just a,
It's an annual appointment. So if you don't want to do it next year, we'll have other members can have a chance. All right. Next item on the agenda is the health officer vacancy. Currently, by statute, as we do not have a health officer, the chair of the select board is that person by statute. It is a role that, while there usually it isn't frequent requirements involved, there are some times that when you do need to do it, you need to be kind of on call and directly around. It is beneficial to have someone maybe with a medical background, because there are some health-related things it is helpful. Don't know that it's required. Someone that's out in the community very actively, observing things. We actually, Barry Meyer, we did talk with him, as was mentioned earlier. He looked at it and felt it was not something he would be able to take on at this time. And Marky and I have discussed this a little bit. This may be a role that we need to look at making this appointment maybe that we provide a stipend maybe to cover, I don't know, encourage people maybe that might not be able to do it, or that just to cover some of the expenses or some of the time. It is conceivably something where you're kind of on call. There's usually not too many things that you need to react, in the middle of the night or anything like that, but it is something that requires being pretty readily available. And I guess while we don't necessarily have to finalize that issue tonight, what I wanted to pose to you, and I think given the time, I'm going to pose it in this fashion. I would like to, at our next meeting, have a discussion about changing that role to possibly a compensated position, with the hope that maybe we can attract some people that would want to do it, and actually take on a very important role and I think maybe with some sort of financial incentive, it might reinforce the fact that it is a very important and a needed role. So if that's okay with the board, we'll put that on the agenda for next week's, our next meeting to discuss it.
Now, that would be unbudgeted.
The budget.
Not in the budget. The other approaches that towns take is they tend to layer up let's say, the zoning administrator becomes health officer, or the town manager, or town administrator, so there are a number of ways you can delegate the responsibility. But in the interim, it's the chair. Now, we've been advertising for a year, but I haven't spent a lot of money on trying to get this out. It's what it entails primarily is working with people in rental housing situations who have irresponsible landlords, and they have leaking roofs, they have mold, or it's a septic system failure, or the water quality is questionable. Those are the paramount concerns that we be able to address townwide. We need, then there's the other category of complaints that might be, we've had one in the village where there was a property being foreclosed upon, or for whatever situation, we had a huge amount of refuse stored in the garage, which became a vector for disease and attractive nuisance. So that had to be dealt with under the public nuisance laws. There may be a crossover into illegal dumping and or illegal burning because you are dealing with trash. It could be on a rental property.
So
that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, so that's what I would like to pose to the board when we meet next. With that framing that Margie just gave, which is a very good one, I'd like to discuss that at the next meeting, and just if we can come up with an idea if we want to proceed in one of those directions. Okay?
Right.
Yep.
All right, the last thing related to appointments tonight is that we forwarded a draft of a potential policy related to appointments to boards and commissions. I think there was a couple circulated. What I would like to suggest is that, again, at next meeting, when we have our fifth member also joining us, that I may ask one of you members to possibly take the ownership, take the leadership on that, maybe amend one of those, which several options there. Each of them look like they had a lot of good points to them that could be, instead of reinventing the wheel, we could modify them to meet our needs and move that process forward so we have a dedicated appointment policy moving forward. So that would be my suggestion on how we handle that. So at the next meeting, if you're so inclined to grab that one. I don't think it's a real big project, but just someone might take ownership of it and bring it back to us in a few weeks as a draft that we could review at that point. Sound favorable?
Yes, yes.
Even though you're not official yet. All right. We already covered our Regional Solid Waste Implementation Plan. That's been covered. The next item should be, I think, a reasonably easy one. Margie and I have drafted the administrative assistant job description. Now, I know we didn't get that to you until actually over the weekend. If you prefer, we could wait and discuss it later. If you've read it and think it's fine, so be it. I guess I would, if anybody's uncomfortable and would like to discuss it, then I would suggest that we table it to our next meeting. So that's what I pose to you.
I'm fine.
You're fine with it?
Yep.
The only thing that I was thinking about was that reference to the normal work week, as opposed to saying
Right.
40 hours.
It's not a full-time job. It was, the normal work week, it takes place during the working hours takes place during the typical
Standard.
work week, the normal work week.
Wait, aren't we going to tell them how many
Under
hours it
working
is?
Conditions.
Oh,
I didn't see how many hours there was.
I didn't see any hours in here either. I mean, that this is a part-time position.
It's very-
or do you
yeah,
put
The
Yeah.
offer,
very part-time.
where I've worked in a case where we have a role that currently is part-time, and with the idea that you can use a job description moving forward, that the hours are described in the offer that you make. And, with your salary and benefits offer, you would indicate in the same document what the expected working hours are.
Well, wouldn't you want to tell a prospective applicant how many hours they're going to work?
Yeah.
You would.
You would.
That's why I'm thinking it wouldn't
I would
hurt to
imagine-
You said in
have
the
in
salary
here.
and offer.
What?
I thought you said that you tell them in the salary offer. To me, the salary offer is after you've made a
Oh.
thing.
And then they can,
Okay.
That was my only comment on it.
Karen?
no, I thought it looked good, other than I had the same question, how many hours we should be defining that this is a part-time position, and there are no benefits,
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. All right. With that being said, I don't know that this actually needs a vote, so we'll just proceed with those changes. This is, Ken, just as a reminder, this is also a budgeted item. It was in the budget. This would be for an assistant to the town administrator.
Yeah.
It's for unfortunately, it's what the budget allowed, a very part-time assistant.
Yeah.
But Lord knows, our dear Margie, we need to provide her that help, because she's only one, and we need her cloned.
Oh, I got a phone call on that. About questioning about that.
All right.
From our friend.
what?
From our friend.
Oh, well, that's related to the other, the town clerk. He's concerned that
Yeah.
the town clerk should have
Yeah,
an
yeah.
assistant and we've never, I don't know that we've been asked that by the town clerk, but
No, I
That
called
would
him, I
be-
called him back, told him it was under discussion.
So, okay, so thank you for that. Next point is the Town Garage Committee to give a report, kind of briefly bring us up to speed on what's been
Sure.
covered since we last met on this very
Sure.
important topic.
we had a good meeting. It'll be 2 weeks ago on Wednesday. Both Carl and Ken were there with, there were a couple of our members that weren't able to make it, but we actually had a couple of other folks that came in. So it's been a really good give and take of information. I did send the board the minutes, and I realized I should start, I've got all of the, I'm trying to keep electronic versions of all of the stuff, including Ken had some information from one of the AST, which, is it AST, which is a
Yeah,
building.
that was the garage, the salt shed over there.
Salt sheds, and in any case, I'm thinking that I should be talking to either, is it Jen, Holly, or Bill to start getting some of this stuff on the website.
It would be Bill Pennybaker.
Yes,
Because the other
Still
site isn't
Bill,
up till
she's
June
not-
30.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure. And some of the things that we discussed this week, or a couple of weeks ago, we have started the column in the banner. The first column went in. And I thought Barry Mayer and Michael Gardner worked together to make that happen, and I thought it was really good. And we will, just for the townspeople, we're trying to have at least monthly columns, which will update the residents on our progress. We did begin to take a look at the idea of a bank loan versus a bond vote. There are some advantages and disadvantages to each one of them. And it really, the final determination was we really need sort of a pro and a con. The bond vote, for instance, those bonds are only sold once a year. We could go out for a bank loan. They're, according to our treasurer, who has given us some information, he's waiting on more. There are some local banks that actually would be interested. Now, they all have different terms. It all varies. Some of them would, for instance, you could get a loan for 3%, say, a 20-year loan, but it would be at 3% for the first, say, 7 to 10 years, and then the bank, then that loan basically gets refinanced, if you will. So you could end up with a lower or a higher interest rate, so it wouldn't be fixed for the whole term of the loan.
Basically a balloon, like a balloon payment sort of thing.
Yeah, right. So there's lots more to flesh out. The bank loans obviously are very determined, you know, Mitch would know all of this as working with banks, and, but very much determined by financial markets, what's going on in the markets. So again, we still have a lot of information that we're, you know, trying to pull together to decide what would be the best route. But the committee did decide, because there is a very specific timeline, because you'll all remember when we tried this the first time, a timeline that you have to follow in terms of warnings and all kinds of notices. And Margie was great in putting together a schedule of those deadlines. And the committee decided that whether we go for a bank loan or we look at a bond, we would proceed in our activities considering that we would be looking at a bond in November. We didn't want to exclude that possibility. So, you know, we may end up at a project that is, you know, way before that. I mean, this is only early May. But that's kind of what we're setting right now, that would be our deadline. We had a really interesting discussion on solar voltaic panels. Bimanita, who lives in town, and he had actually helped the town years ago when we first started some of our energy efficiency discussions. He is an expert in this, in solar energy, and we went through his analysis of the current garage usage, consumption, and based on a design that would basically match a building that was that size, it was coming in at a price of around $24,000, and then once you figure in the grants that are available and some of the incentives, it brought the cost down to around $15,000. Now, the bottom line is that we're not looking at something that size. We're looking at something that's maybe 3 to 4 times that size. So, although the committee was very intrigued and interested, we also know that those kinds of costs were never budgeted the first time around. So, you know, would love to get something like that as part of this project, but it's really,
It'd have to be, yeah.
It's cost dependent. And, you know, it's interesting because we talked, he described a plan where we could put these panels on the roof. There are some disadvantages based on, you know, if you've got shading, if you have tall trees that are within 50 feet, or you have electric lines, that can be enough shading to really cause a problem. And then we started talking about we could put panels on top of the landfill. And you wouldn't have those same kinds of issues because it's wide open there. So there's a lot more, you know, that we need to review on that. We also had a number of us took a site visit. Ken was present, and Terry and Ron Jennings and I went over to Pittstown to look at a new facility that they have over there. It's much bigger than what we were looking at. It's almost 12,000 square feet. Ken brought some of the photographs.
Where did you get 'em?
It's quite large. And their project, I have not done up all of my notes from that site visit, but I will send them out to everybody.
But the context of that site visit was because we're looking at shaving costs right off the top of the salt shed
Yes.
proposal.
Yes,
So that was really the driving
right.
interest.
They had
Going over.
they had a new salt shed, which was built by the AST company that Ken had brought us information on. And that salt shed came in, it was bigger than what we would be looking at. I think that was 40 by 60,
Yeah,
or
you
50
guys
by
get them.
60, but it came in at, I think it was 100
10?
No, over there it came in at 175,000.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, the salt shed.
Much bigger,
Yeah.
the salt shed.
And they didn't have a push wall on that either.
They did not have a push wall. So, and Terry had presented some information on salt sheds that, the fabric roofed salt sheds. So again, we're in the process of gathering additional information, looking at where we can shave some costs. And that, again, will be ongoing, and we invite anybody that may be interested. It is the second and fourth Wednesday of every month at 6:30 here. And I will be sure that information gets online, and also I'd like to start a file, Margie, with this stuff and have it available if there are people that come into Cole Hall that maybe don't have.
Am I wrong, Karen? I thought I heard him say that whole project cost them 1.3 million.
No, it was
1.5.
closer to 1.6, I think, yeah. the whole
Right, but
thing.
that building is what, half again bigger than what they wanted up here?
That building was.
12,000
almost
square feet
12,000
versus 8,700.
Yeah, but they already had the infrastructure there. They had the site there.
Right, well, we've got the site there.
Well, yeah, but don't forget, our total project cost included all of the site work.
Right, but they were doing Davis-Bacon, all their work was Davis-Bacon, which is, he told me,
Well, yeah,
the ironworkers are $45 an hour.
So, anyway, there's lots of information still for us to gather, and was there anything that you wanted to add from our meeting?
No, except that I thought there was a lot of discussion with those voltaic panels. We went beyond the discussion of just providing it for the project, but possibly providing it for other town buildings. That being the reason why we might want to put it on the landfill, because there'd be more room for panels, and it got a little over my head, but it could actually pay for itself, possibly not just for the shed, but possibly for some of the usage here in Cole Hall.
Right, because basically what you do, and what was really pretty interesting at this site visit, they had on site a lot of these panels on a separate section of the site. And they do just that. They do the net metering, where it basically goes back into the grid, and we could get credits towards other buildings. But it's, for every, let me think if I'm not going to get this right. For every kilowatt, every 1,000 kilowatts, it's $4,000.
They had a different system over there,
They had
getting
a
the refund, or the rebates too.
That's right. Well, we would get grant money for this.
Right,
and it
but
is
what I'm
through
saying is, as far as the way you get your money back from the power, from the panels,
Right.
is different in New York State than it is in Vermont.
And also even though at the moment it might be a minimal, very, very minimal cost to us, depending on how the state in the future might choose to give credits, it could jump substantially, because you don't know if the
That's
state can't afford to give these credits, that's
Right.
passed back to the user, and so there is that risk. Right now, it's almost a wash, but in the
Right.
future, nobody knows what it'll be in the future.
Well, and I think the biggest thing in my head, coming out of that meeting with BIMA, was that we need an analysis based on the projected size of the new garage, with all of the energy efficiencies that we're planning to have in there, all the new energy codes, and because, again, our initial plan was almost 4 times the size of this. Is that right?
No.
3 times the size,
Pretty
maybe
triple.
3
This is
times the
20
size.
5 or 2,700, and I think the plan was 8,700.
Yeah, so 3 times that, but the actual cost that he, so so there you're looking at $75,000 versus the 25,000 or 24. And, even if you're getting, well, in any case, it's a lot, we could end up spending $50,000 that wasn't budgeted. It's a wonderful project, but, so we need to get a little firmer fix on on those costs.
Karen, just as I was talking to a guy for the R factor of the building that does the spray foam insulation, and they can get up to ratings of 40 and higher
Oh, yeah.
with
Oh,
the
yeah.
foam.
Yeah, that was what
And he
Jim
said,
had
once I
told
got him
us.
some plans, he could get us a price on that.
That would be good. That would be good. Yeah. So that's,
So,
I
good.
think
So
we're,
things are moving along.
Yeah, they are. They are. It's a really good group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the report.
Something that you wanted to bring to us
Marjorie's gonna bring that
under other business?
Okay, we won't forget you. Okay, we're there.
I
We're
don't like making
I know.
Oliver sit for
Sit here.
too long.
We'll let Marjorie bring it up.
Go right to mine.
Okay, next item is the town administrator's report.
And under my report, first item is the fact that since we have replaced the brush truck, and we have our existing brush truck that we need to sell, really hadn't thought about the process for doing so. And, but I don't think we can just give it away.
No.
And we should ask for some sort of solicitations. Oliver, what was the magnitude of the value that we think we can get to tops?
From what I've been able to do, Blue Book somewhere around $4,000, which is kind of crazy for me for a 20-year-old truck, but it's in really good shape for a 20-year-old truck. We could discuss
Yeah.
taking pictures and putting in ads and all that great stuff.
Right.
North Bennington Fire Department expressed some interest in it. And I took it down to them tonight, and they looked at it, and I just told them to contact Marge with a reasonable offer. They're the ones who looked up a couple times, Marge, Blue Book. And I said, give Marge some kind of reasonable offer. And I don't expect to see what, but let's see what they do offer if they want it. They're going to discuss it. They have a meeting tonight. And I would suggest strongly that while we could probably get more if we put it out to the public, I'd like to support another local department that has no brush truck. And if they're willing to take it, we would be selling it to the town or to the village, either the village or the fire department. It's no private individual will be private. I'd like to, Marge is going to.
For the sale of the highway pickup, all we did was post around town. I believe I ran a very, very brief ad in the banner. Their ads are very expensive. I mean, we could do it in
I would
something.
like to ask the board to hold off on making it out public bids in deference to what we hear from another department. And if that doesn't work out, then proceed with putting up the public bid. But we certainly need your permission
And
to
then
do it.
there's that as well.
And then Mark can approach the board with what the offer is, and she can decide to accept that, and it's done deal. She has the Bible, we've seen it in the solar, the Bible down there in the cabinet.
And North
Wait.
Bennington would use this as a brush truck?
Correct.
I don't have any problem with that at all.
Let's see if they want it. Because the guys are kicking the tires and taking the ride and all that stuff tonight.
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Carl, do you, your
No,
thoughts on
I
that?
have no problem with it at all. I like Oliver's suggestion.
All right, so let's see what happens.
See what they do, how they respond.
Yep, yep. Thanks,
Thanks,
Oliver.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Glad to see you here.
Okay, Margie, what else do you have for us?
I know.
Oh, very few bullets. I want to get bids out for fuel because we're back at market rates for propane. I'm working right now with Jen Hawley on some domain registration issues regarding our website. And I've had some illegal burning and dumping complaints, which just are tangential, but they need to be dealt with. And I'm still in the dialogue with the Agency of Transportation regarding the Sidewalk Committee's review of proposed conceptual plans for the little piece of sidewalk around the corner. And we have some feedback for the design engineer in the state. We are probably going to have to go out for additional transportation fund for planning grant funds, or not planning grant, but they're called transportation alternative planning funds, because the issue of lighting at that corner is of big and foremost concern to the landowner there, that we do something to upgrade that ugly, ugly old street lamp there, but it's definitely not within the budget for the sidewalk project. So, and we just have a drainage issue or two to address, and then I think we have concept plans to be finalized. So,
Margie, in terms of the burning ordinance sort of stuff, is that anything our new constable can,
you know,
can
I'm glad you
address?
brought that up because, well, I use our deputy fire wardens. I mean, and
Oh, okay.
they go,
Good,
and Jerry
good.
Madison did the site visit in the village here.
Good,
But in the near future, we need to talk about the fact that we have a certified law enforcement officer serving as a constable. And whether or not the board wants to revisit the issue of the role of constables, and what they should be authorized to do. At minimum, I think that we're now able to have, this particular constable could enforce local ordinances. But anyway,
And
so that's
For me, it brings up the question of, do we take a look at the term of the constable? I mean, we can, and I think it takes a vote from the people, but right now, it's just been a yearly.
Right.
And our hesitancy to train anybody is that we're looking at a one-year term.
Yeah.
And
it
then
takes a year.
somebody may be gone after a
Right.
year. But here we have
Well,
someone.
and that, as you recall, we left that at that point, the constables at that point had brought that up, and we had tasked them to do some of the research and bring
Right.
back the planning to do that, and that didn't materialize,
Right.
so that's where that stands. Ken?
What powers does a constable have as far as,
That's a
I don't know,
whole,
say you got two neighbors fighting, just give you an example. And then,
the answer to that varies depending upon, the law changed recently, and it has to do with whether they're certified officers or not.
Yeah.
And so that's actually goes back to the point that Margie just raised, that we need to revisit that because of the way the laws changed recently, the answer to that question is, it actually is very little or whatever the law allows. But it's, we have to revisit it before I can give you the answer to that question.
Well, right now, our
right,
constables
yeah.
can't do anything.
Right,
They have no law enforcement
so if
powers.
they got a problem, they better call the state police.
Correct.
exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
but they can do the traditional, which is dog license,
Yes.
enforcing dog licenses.
Yeah,
and
What
hauling.
about burning fires, quote unquote, illegally?
The burn
That-
barrels? I mean.
Well, I mean, just going out, say, out back of your house in the village and starting a fire.
You mean if someone goes and starts a fire in their
Just
backyard?
burning brush or something out back of their place.
That would be a fire
Fire
or a
warden?
warden or a deputy that should have issued a permit. according to the burn ordinance.
Okay,
So the answer is right now, they have very little authority.
yeah, okay,
But with a certified officer, that could change.
yeah, well,
But we would need to work through a process to make
Yeah.
that happen. Anything else, Margie?
That's it for now.
Okay. I have two small matters for other business, and then we'll be done. One is we need to sign the reserve fund balance policy that's been previously adopted, correct, Margie? Mm-hmm. Just need to sign that document and put it in force.
Actually, if you can, could you send around your conflict of interest policy
Yeah, well,
for
I'm going to-
signatures as well? Want to do 2 signatures?
Okay.
at
And the
once?
conflict of interest policy, which we've already adopted. These don't require any action other than your pen. The last item that I'll just tell you, I sent to you earlier today what I told you I'd send you a couple weeks ago and didn't until now, and I will forward it to you as well, is my thoughts on throwing out the liaison assignments. I kind of just divvied them up. Take a look at that when we come back next week. If there's any that you really, really want, that you'd like, say that, or if there's any that on the list that I gave you that you don't like, that you'd really not want to be involved with, same thing. But other than that, my hope is that we can do a little bit of horse trading on a few, and the rest we'll let them run and not have a topic that we need to spend an hour
Oh, I
discussing.
have this online.
What?
I have
I
a
know,
copy
Mark.
online.
You got it electronically
I got
as well.
electronically.
Yeah, I just sent,
Yep,
it's one I sent this afternoon. It's
Yeah.
revised ever so slightly. And we'll take it from there. So
that for you?
that's all I have. Anything else?
Oh, I see.
Other business?
Nope.
Karen,
Move to adjourn.
No.
Carl, Ken, any other business? Margie?
That's it.
Motion to adjourn. I think we got that already. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
I should have never made my